We're going to drain the swamp of corruption. Drain the swamp. And that's what we're doing. We are going to Washington, D.C., and we are going to drain the swamp.
Is Harvey Barnard from the NESARA organization. NESARA stands for National Economic Stabilization and Recovery Act. It's a package that Harvey has put together, and he joins us in studio today.
I'm a systems troubleshooter. I take a look at a system for my clients and decide what's wrong, what are the problems. And we've got some real problems in this country. This time next year, we're looking at a $6 trillion debt. NESARA is the only bill out there that says we get rid of $1 trillion worth of debt up front.
Drain the swamp. And that's what we're doing.
Hi, I'm Dionese GERBRECHT, D for short. As you may know, my father was Harvey Francis Barnard, author of the National Economic Stabilization and Recovery Act. We can clear up a misconception right there. It is stabilization.
Well, good evening and welcome to the Real NESARA Show. I am Dionese GERBRECHT. Glad to be here this evening. Hope that y'all are all doing well. Glad to have you here. And normally we open up the show and I tell a little bit about my history and what we do here. We'll probably get into that shortly. Got a few other little things to add. First business first. FC, I love the new look.
Thank you, darling. I truly appreciate it. Look, we're always improving things here on the platform, and things can just only get better, love. You know what I mean?
I know.
Only get better. Our shows are getting a lot better. The content is getting a lot more intense. You know what I mean? Which is great. You know, yes.
Things are getting more intense. It's just it is wild out there. You know,
it is. It is wild. And what I say to people is just keep yourself in a great headspace. The only way you're going to get through all this, keep yourself in a great headspace. Keep yourself centered and don't absorb what's going on out there. That's right. Yeah. My advice.
Yeah, you got to keep your eye on the ball and remember, you know, what's important, and you know, understand that this will pass. We're troubles come and troubles go. Okay, so what your job is to kind of just stay calm, stay stable, be the anchor, be the rock. You know, especially if you have family, they need that stability. And it's hard. It's hard.
Now,
go ahead.
There's a reason why we call the show today full of the deception, isn't it, Dee?
Yeah, it is. A lot of I think a lot's going on. A lot has been going on. Through, I guess, Carol got a contact from one of our viewers. His name was Fred, I believe, and got us in touch with Cynthia from the Fall of the Cabal. Now, I was unfamiliar with her work, but I know that you were very familiar with it. As I've come to learn that she was, had a pretty wide following here and had done a lot of in-depth research or stuff, or either her partner had, I believe that was.
It was Janet.
Janet, okay.
Yeah, no, Janet, her partner. And the thing is, right, let me just give you the quick lowdown.
Okay, good. Tell people the history.
Yeah, so basically, The Fall of the Cabal was a series, and her name was Janet Osbard, okay, and they're from the Netherlands. Now, she would release it on a weekly basis. I think it was an episode. Now, this is the thing. I'm going to say it, the grifters, you know what I mean? Those entities like Charlie Ward and all the rest of them used her work, right?
So yeah.
And I mean all over the place. And they've been using her work for even till today. They still use Janet Osbard's work, The Fall of the Cabal. So it's a great honor, isn't it? And we want to say thank you to Cynthia for this.
Yeah.
But you can continue on and we can talk about it even more.
Yeah, I was real excited to, we exchanged emails and talked about it, and she had done some information on the real NESARA, the real Harvey's NESARA, and she asked me to look over it. Something she had written for, I believe, what they call Substack. I'm a social media. I don't know anything about it. But anyway, and she asked me to take a look at it, and I did, and I had she was really pretty accurate there with her information about Harvey and his work, a few little corrections, and so we chatted back and forth, and she said, well, would you write an article about your story and the bill? And I said I would be honored to do so. I sent it to her, and right away she got it out, and we've gotten really good response from it, and I want to thank her very much for doing that. As I talk about in that article, and as you well know, what we've been up against here in the last couple of years is trying to get people to understand that yes, the Harvey was a real person, and he wrote the bill, and it gets frustrating as you go along, and you keep hitting brick walls of all of this conspiracy. And I'm glad we live in an age where we have so many, what you would say, individual reporters, where people are allowed at least have the semblance of being able to hear their voice heard. I know we have problems with that, and we'll talk about that later. But that people can be heard to get the truth out. The facts are the facts, and I'll address this real quick, and so we can put this behind us. I am the truth about NESARA. Okay, that's it. Okay. My mother was Jean. My father was Harvey. He wrote the original bill. Everything that I have, I am the only heir. I am the holder and of all the archives and all of that kind of stuff. And since I have stepped forward, that's it. There is nothing to debate about. Now, you want to debate about whether the bill is good or bad? Great. Then read the bill and we can do that. But the fact of where it came from and where it started, again, that debate should be over. It should be done, because, this is the real history. Harvey wrote the book. The nice thing about it is when he wrote this, he was a systems theorist, systems analyst, and he went at it at the same way that you would analyze any mechanical problem. This is about structure. It's not about who's in the White House or who's going to be in the White House or who the asset managers of the financial world are, central bank, technology. None of that matters. It is about the mechanics of money, the nature of money. And it works just like any other physics principle. It's about cause and effect. You do X, Y is going to happen. Right? A plus B equals C, C minus A equals B. These are eternal nature of money facts. Okay? Taking that and then showing the difficulties that they have caused when used in certain ways with real historical examples, not only from America, but from around the world. Then showing the flaws in the system, the problems, coming up with a solution, matching it up with the Constitution, and a full set of references, all in a book that your seventh grader could read. Okay. So this is easy information for people to digest. The real victims here, and again, as we try to weed through all the people who have been cheated and grifted by these NESARA, GERBRECHT people, just spreading lies for their own enrichment, it's a horrible thing. I feel terrible for them, especially like we talk about all the time, the poor lady that lost their house. I hear horror stories. I heard another one when I was listening to that little thing from BBC, about how people have really just lost everything. But the fact of the matter is, a criminal is a criminal. Okay. I don't care if they're holding you up through the mail or if they're holding a gun to your head on the street corner. Okay. I have sympathy for all victims of all crimes. In this case, it's sad to say, but the real victims are you, the people, okay, who had your opportunity to learn the truth, to actually get involved, to make some difference in your monetary policies, not just here in America, but all over the world, was taken from you and your children, which is even more important, right? And so that's why it's just really, really important. This is one of those books that, I have a lot of history books, FC. I like to study history, and I have a lot of old history books that I have kept and kind of, sequestered away because of their value. Not the value of the book, but the value of the knowledge they contain. There's something that's always going to be there. They're always going to be true, right? It's real stuff. If the stormtroopers ever come, this is one of those books that you take with you under the porch. You know what I mean? Because it's not going to change, no matter what the world around you changes us. So I hope people that take that to heart and realize that the information is really easy to read. And if you read it and absorb it, you can handle your own money, your finances. You know what I'm saying? People always want to know what's going to go on the stock market. Well, how do I predict this? Or what do I need to say? What is the best thing for me to do? If you understand the nature of money and the relationship of the system, you stand a much better chance of being okay. Sorry, I'm just got off my little high horse there.
No, that's fine. I mean, someone I can't pronounce this.
You in the chat? Oh, okay.
Can you see? I'll put it up there on our screen. It says, "I recently purchased that book on eBay." Do you sell those books on eBay? Okay, so let's see. I sell the only ones that we have on eBay are the hard copy. Okay. And this is the last of the hard copies that Harvey did. Let me explain the story. In 2000 and late 2004, he had I think about 1,000 of these copies done. This was his publication of Draining the Swamp, the NESARA story. He started to try to get some of them out. He was again fighting the grift at that time. My father was he was sick. He had a genetic heart defect that finally, he succumbed to. He died in May of 2005. After that time, my mother kept up the little website for a while. She sold a few books, answered questions and letters. But, after about a year, people just weren't interested. We weren't keeping up. I mean, she knew about the grift, but we didn't have the wherewithal to mount a campaign against that. We packed up the stuff and went on with our lives. It was in 23, maybe 22, 23, where my husband came to me and said, he held up his phone and he showed me a picture of that book. And he said, "Is this your dad's book?" And I said, "Yes, it is." He said, "They're selling it on eBay for $800. I said, "That's crazy." He said, "You got any more of those books?" I said, "Wait a minute, stop right there." So I said, "Yes, we have a few copies left." And so I began to sell them on eBay, but certainly not for $800. That's not what Harvey wanted. I sold them for $300. And I'm going to tell you why. It seems like a big price, but they're the last of their kind. I will never, ever print another hard copy edition of this book. I have made that very clear to everyone who has bought it because I want it to hold its value. I was able to sell enough copies of the hardback. I have a few left, not very many, but just a few. One of them's for me.
Okay.
better
I
save me
gotta
one.
spit that one away. But I was able to sell enough to be able to get it put in a paperback on
Yeah.
Amazon, and it's just the print on demand. But this is what Harvey wanted. He wanted everybody to be able to have the information. So to answer the question, yes, they're on eBay. Now I know people, I've seen people buy this paperback and try to resell it on any platform. I have seen people buy the original hardback and then resell it at a higher price. But again, there are um, limited editions of that. So
Okay, so what they said is they paid $42 US, obviously, and it says I have that one on paperback. So they purchased it.
okay, they purchased a paperback. Okay, so if they got this one on paperback, then somebody probably bought it on Amazon and then resold it on eBay.
Yeah.
Then that's how they got it. So,
Now,
but now everybody knows the story about the hardbacks. Just
now
kinda
getting
launched
back
into
to what you were saying before about it's actually real, that story that you said about what happened with that lady that lost her house in Vancouver.
it is.
So it's right
yes.
there.
Mhm. Yeah.
There we go. Conspiracy theory about New World Order won't save Vancouver's home from foreclosure. And what happened was that Karen Lou went there and claimed that her mortgage was debt forgiven under the NESARA, so the pseudo NESARA, and they went there with a list, which the list they come from the Dove of Oneness again,
Mhm.
Aka Shanae Goodwin, okay, and they lost their home. That was the end result.
Yeah.
It's real. This is actually real, the real stuff. Now I've also got at hand, drum roll, The Fall of the Cabal. We're live on her website, and I've got up her write-up, which I think it was Cynthia, or was it Cynthia, wrote on January the 24th, 2026. So just recently.
I'm going to stop you right there just for a second and answer this
Sure.
question. What's the book called? It's Draining the Swamp, the NESARA Story. And if you're unfamiliar, it was written by my father, Harvey F. Barnard, and it contains the original National Economic Stabilization and Recovery Act, which is the only NESARA. There is no and never has been produced a National Economic Security and whatever. That was all a pseudo NESARA, which we have the timeline, and we've been through this many times. I'll have Carol, who wonderful lady that manages our chat and our comment section for us. I'll have her put that down there so that you can go back and watch those episodes, and they'll give you the full story. But yes, this is where you can buy the book, and you can get it on Amazon. And I
Yep, so
appreciate
go
you
to
asking that.
NESARAinstitute.com.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you got the options to purchase the book over here.
Yeah.
Okay. And please support Harvey Barnard's work. We all need to do our bit. And like I've said before, and you know this, Dee, we have got to do this organic. We've got to do this grassroots style.
Well, that's what Harvey always thought. He called it the monetary rights movement, and he believed that if people really understood the nature of the system and how that they had been economically enslaved for generations and generations, he said there would be a revolution. But people don't know that. Why? And I believe that you and I have pretty much answered that question, because when he came out with this and tried to make it public back in the early 90s, they had different ideas and of course launched the campaign to make it fringe, make it conspiracy, so no one would ever take it seriously.
Correct. And I've got some examples just so we can go through real quickly before we do the reveal.
Okay.
I like to call it. Okay. Now, as you know, there is quite a few of these sites, and this is just a few of them. Now, let me just bring that up. So these are the sites that go around promoting the fakery, which is the pseudo NESARA. So Operation Disclosure are notorious, right?
Mm-hmm.
Restored Republic, they are notorious for the pseudo NESARA GERBRECHT. Okay? People have to really stop enabling them, right? So if we type in here NESARA, right?
Mhm.
You will see how, see right there, they started popping up. Do you see?
Yeah.
So there's so many of them. The
Tons.
problem is it still continues on.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go down to the bottom. So you got, they link everything up. So Judy Bynington is another character that's linked up to this. Okay. But if you go to, they link up the AETs, the extraterrestrials, they link up the RV, they link the quantum financial system, they link the med beds, they link it all up.
Yeah.
Right. However, when you go to the disclaimer, what does it say there, Dee? Just read this,
Let's see.
this section
Okay.
here.
Where are you at? Put your pointer
Right
there.
here.
Okay. All articles, videos, and images posted on Operation Disclosure were submitted by readers and are handpicked by the site itself for information
And
or entertainment purposes. All statements, claims, views, and opinions that appear on this site are always presented as unverified and should be discerned by the reader. We do not endorse any opinions expressed on this website, and we do not support, represent, or guarantee the completeness, truthfulness, accuracy, or reliability of any content posted on this website.
so, in other words, they procure all this
Yeah.
pseudo fake information and they ask for subscription fees so you can be entertained. Okay.
And that's what it is. Yeah.
And that's what it is. That's exactly how they get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been, but nobody bothers to scroll down the bottom. Let's be honest. Nobody bothers to read the, shall we say, the proverbial disclaimer on each of it. And it's been proven over and over again, Dee. You know what I mean? That's the
Oh,
thing.
yeah, it has. It has.
Even with the fall of the cabal, ladies and gentlemen, Janet used to put a disclaimer. This, you want to read that one?
Yeah. This documentary was made by researcher and author Janet Ossebaard from the Netherlands with the aid of countless Anons across the world. It contains thousands of hours of research. I urge you to accept nothing as truth. Please do your own research and double check everything. I present it to you. That is the only way to truly wake up and become an independent thinker. Yeah.
So she's giving you the heads up. Hey, don't accept what we're showing you on these episodes as testament, right?
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Yeah.
As the
Yeah.
truth.
I think she's saying, I'm
Check.
willing, fact check me. You know, I'm doing the best I
Exactly.
can. You know, if you find something, and I've always been the same. Hey, you got a better idea? You got something? Bring it. Let's talk about it. That's, you know, let's dig around and find out what's real. And that's the way it should be.
That's exactly right. So my point is this. So you're seeing there is a lot of these kind of, and there's another one here. This is just, there's so many of them. I just can't keep up. But look at this. History, event, timelines. So they created a timeline and they started doing all this, right? And just putting all this garbage up there. Do you see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So they're tying in facts and fiction. So look, I said,
Yeah.
that's how they work.
always do it.
They
Yeah.
dirty the waters, okay? And they just keep going on and on and on
You know,
and on and
I
on.
have that timeline. I have the newspaper article. Let's do that real
yeah,
quick.
let's go. Let's roll to that. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the one that was from the American Free Press. So let me see if
Let
I
me
can.
add you got to add your screen in there.
I'm
but
going to try to do this. Here.
that's right,
Let's see.
Soren. They are blurring the lines. So they by
Oh.
doing that, people get confused. It's like this. You know, I saw it. That is true. The Reserve Bank did this, this, and this. Right, that's fact. But then they add all the other fictitious embellishments, and then it creates that blurriness. You know what I mean? They blur the lines. Yes.
Yeah. Let me give a little history on this newspaper article.
Go for it.
When Harvey wrote the 2005 edition, in here there is a chapter called "Afterward: The NESARA Story," and it was written by this gentleman, John Tiffany. Now, you'd have to know a little bit more in depth about my story, but I didn't know who John Tiffany was, and so I think it was, gosh, you and I were already broadcasting when I actually stumbled on this in Harvey's archives. And it was just a few months back. I think it was maybe September, October. But anyway, the chapter in the book talks about the grift, and John wrote it for Harvey. And come to find out, Mr. John Tiffany was the editor of the American Free Press at the time. If you look at this article and the date, January 17th, 2005, that's always kind of giving us a nice, January 17th, 2005. Anyway, so what Mr. Tiffany did in his research is he looked at what was starting out then as the pseudo NESARA campaign information. And he talks about it at depth in this article. And so let's see, we can read some of the excerpts from this if you want to take the time to do so.
Yeah, sure. Definitely.
Sure. Okay. So there is a mysterious phenomenon going around that is known as NESARA. NESARA would be an acronym for the National Economic Stabilization and Recovery Act. Now, that is the act that Harvey wrote, which is said to be a legislative proposal that merely reintroduces specie, which is the money, as an alternative currency to help combat anti-inflationary policies of paper Federal Reserve note. It may originally have been a good idea with patriotic appeal, but sadly, this proposal seems to have become a magnet for some dubious characters. Right off the bat, that's what, this is American Free Press, okay? These are the people that investigate this stuff. If you believe someone calling herself Dove of Oneness, more often just Dove, a pseudonym, of course, or Oliver, one of the two shady figures involved with NESARA, the exact text of the proposal is actually a secret. Thanks to Supreme Court, Oliver attributes Dove to this, which is a bizarre statement. So what they're saying is here, they could never actually tell you anything because they always had these non-disclosure agreements. But here's what the statement was. By the order of the Supremes, the full text of NESARA cannot be published till its announcement. By the order of Supremes, the docket numbers and congressional bill numbers were removed and held in secret to be revealed only after NESARA's announcement. Now, that was Dove of Oneness' statement back in the early 2000s. They have never produced a bill. I can assure you right here in this book is Harvey's bill, totally typeset and ready for Congress. It was never introduced into Congress. It was never passed by Congress in any way, shape, or form. In reality, there are two NESARAs, the fraudulent version pushed by con men and the original version. Now, he goes on to elaborate and tells all about that kind of stuff. You can find this full article on my Facebook page, which you can find the link to that on the website. He brought this out, and even with the American Free Press, the large financial backing that these con artists started off with was just absolutely no match for my father to be able, and my mother, who were not able to work at the time. So that's so just some nice information there, history that y'all should know.
Well, I've got a surprise for you, Dee, which I've been saving for. You should love surprises because I'm all about surprises, right?
I know you are.
Okay. Well, your father's work has made all its way to the University of France, and I've got the document here.
Oh, wow!
Are you ready to read that? Are you ready?
Okay, to read it? I'm ready. Let me get a little sip of water here.
Okay, guys. You're watching it here on the Freedom Channel broadcast live. All right. Don't forget that you're watching the truth here. You're not finding it anywhere else. Dee and I are out there pushing out the truth. Now we got Cynthia from the Fall of the Cabal that's pushing out the truth.
Yeah.
We are winning. We are winning against the grifters. We are winning. And they know their time is coming to an end.
Yes.
I can feel it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yes. And that's what I was saying. I was really grateful to Cynthia for helping us to get this out and publishing the article that I wrote. So what you got for me here?
Oh, have a read of that. That comes from from Paris, PSL University in France. Have a good read of this.
Okay. NESARA GERBRECHT pops up easily when one searches for the financial element in conspiracy millennialist fantasies today. The acronym NESARA stood initially for the National Economic Stabilization and Recovery Act. Yay, got that right. A rather French policy proposed, ideated in the 1990s by Harvey F. Barnard, a consultant and founder of the NESARA Institute, established in Greenville Springs, Louisiana. Still here. The initiative, which took the form of a proposed bill but was never introduced before the U.S. Congress, consisted in a systematic monetary and fiscal reform aiming at general prosperity against the contrived scheme put in place by power brokers in Washington, D.C. And it included things such as the restoration of gold as constitutional currency, the end of the Federal Reserve System, the elimination of national debt, the abolition of compound interest on loans, and of income tax. The 2000s saw an acronym evolve, now standing for the National Economic Security and Reformation Act, and referring to a rather esoteric version of the plan, soon acquiring a planetary dimension in the form of a Global Economic Security and Reformation Act, GERBRECHT. Sinead Goodwin, a spiritual investment consultant known as the Dove of Oneness in New Age internet circles, spearheaded this new conspiratorial interpretation. The global currency reset and the general reevaluation the reform called for were considered to be, in fact, underway, although in a secret, occulted fashion, with an adverse league of political and financial elites conspiring against the changes. NESARA GERBRECHT also started to carry a distinctive spiritual, prophetic element with the restoration of the fair, original, real value of persons, things being connected to the equilibrium of energies, at once planetarium, cosmic, mystical, psychic, extraterrestrial, interdimensional, divine, and economic.
Yes, good old Saint Germain from the ethereal plane.
Yeah, that's on my long timeline. Yeah. Okay.
Let's continue on. Keep going.
Okay. Myriad GERBRECHT.
Myriad. I think
Myriad.
Okay. Right, yeah.
Myriad GERBRECHT groups, seminars, publications, and tutorials exist today all over the world. First-hand accounts provide a remarkable wealth of details of the webs of hope, fraud, legend, and disarray that the GERBRECHT syndrome is made of. From online shops in which one can purchase cheap Iraqi dinar or Vietnamese dong in anticipation of imminent GERBRECHT rollout, and then make a fortune when the time comes, to convoluted relations about the functioning revelations about the quantum financial system.
There we go. The quantum financial. Yeah. You've got the RV, the quantum financial system.
Yeah.
Right. All tied in to all that business. You know
That's
what I mean?
right.
Keep going.
The nexus of banking software and hardware that sustains the GERBRECHT project, the secret war between the Alliance, a global confederation striving to implement the reform, and the cabal, the corrupt defenders of the old financial order, the crucial role played by the Chinese elders of the Royal Dragon, a set of ancient families working covertly for the restoration of the gold standard, and much more. It is, in other words, an elaborate fantasy cluttered with elements of conspiratorial thinking, mixtures of anti-Semitic tropes and spiritual visions. And also,
tropes, that's very interesting, isn't it?
It is. It is. That's the first one I've heard that. And also ideals of political reform and economic salvation, at the heart of which lies a theory of value. Yes, it does. Okay. The NESARA GERBRECHT syndrome certainly corresponds to the established patterns of the conspiracy thinking identified by scholars of the North American culture, Knight 2000, Barkham 2003, Finster 2008. It also points toward contemporary forms of populist extremism. Mike Rothschild 2021, for example, identifies the NESARA narrative as a key precedent for the QAnon paradigm, a complex improvisational
Yeah.
assemblage of that's a first read through here.
No, that's
Give
okay.
me
You
some
do well.
slack here. Conspiracy thinking of political populism that has gained important traction today in the U.S. and elsewhere. NESARA connects indeed with the development of sovereign citizen movements all over the world and their particular legalistic inventiveness and secessionist radicalism. But it also connects with a distinct blend of New Age spirituality described by Susan Crockford, 2002. Crockford explicitly addresses NESARA and the fantasized materiality of gold in her examination of the cosmologies of money found at work in North American communities of spiritual investment practice. More broadly, NESARA exhibits a mundane version of the economic eschatological. Okay, I gotta look that
think
one
you
up.
did pretty well there.
Okay,
Yeah.
I have to look that one up. Implied
Yes.
in financial disclosures on the future Geiger 2020. So, okay, that's his references. As well as a sense of community at work in everyday speculative practices. It is possible then to situate the syndrome within the perimeter of ordinary financial imagination. It is tempting to locate NESARA and comparable phenomena in the periphery of the financial order, situating them with a delusional space found at the margins of judicious concepts of money, finance, wealth, and value. A different approach is possible, however, one that takes paranoid finance, short for conspiratorial millennialist interpretations of banking, money, wealth, and value as an extreme, radical appropriation of a logic that is inherent in finance. In other words, we can observe how the imminent critique of finance these movements rely on falls squarely with the Horatio Orts,
Horatio Orts.
Horatio Orts, okay, 2014, calls the limits of financial imagination. This financial imagination is a worldwide that thrives on the ideal of free investors gauging fundamental value of things in efficient markets, navigating the occasional crisis this valuation insight meets. It is also worldwide controlled by the notion of a future, the investor's future, that will generate value, but only if it is defended from the threat of degeneration in the present. This is great. Okay. And it is also, perhaps even more fundamentally, a worldwide dominated fantasy of value creation. True, voracious, real, transparent. Okay.
I think we nearly finished there.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
But value fantasies such, I'm about the last paragraph. Value fantasies such as the one
The
considered.
revaluation fantasy is
Okay.
loaded with capitals, paranoid, unconscious.
Mhm.
It is a fantasy of infinite yield, deriving from a source as yet unknown, of a mythic, never seen treasure that should be reclaimed from the enemy. Current unresolved debates on the still patently mysterious nature of money, the logic of its creation and circulation, the link between currency and value, the meaning of fiat and significance of gold demonstrate that paranoid finance enjoys plenty of fertile soil in the ordinary world of finance. Now,
That's funny. That's what that last line is
this,
funny.
this all comes from France. You realize it's
Oh, that's great.
written by
Yeah.
Fabien
Yeah.
Menesia.
Well,
I think
maybe
we should get in contact with them.
I think we should get with Mr. Fabian and tell him, look, this is the real thing. There is a real bill. It is not built on fantasy. There are no. In fact, I'll read real quick. You know, I one of the first times you and I did a show, I read this excerpt to you, the one from afterward the NESARA story,
Yes.
which kind of, you know, and that was written by Mr. Tiffany, and it sums it up so great. Let me make sure I get it right. Okay, here we go. If I have enough light here. Okay, cultists. Now, this is in the book. Okay. Cultists believe this pseudo NESARA, the National Economic Security and Reformation Act, a misappropriation of the original acronym, is a miraculous secret law hundreds of years in the making. They believe it was blocked and covered up by George W. Bush, Bush's administration, Some of the group believe the 9/11 attacks were Bush's first attempt to delay their NESARA's implementation, and that the Iraq War was a second. They believe their pseudo-NESARA will abolish the IRS, remove George Bush from office, expose him as a reptilian alien, distribute fortunes to the worthy few, install a saucer-flying Jesus Christ as America's new leader, and bring about a new golden age with the help from some friendly extraterrestrials. That's a lot to unpack. And
it certainly
nothing
is.
could be further from the truth. This is a
me,
practical bill. It's just
well,
so
look,
funny.
let me show you something that's very relevant. Now, we're about debunking, shall we say, what is fact, and showing what the fiction is. So debunking the fiction, right? For example. So what I've done is, and this is just one of them, which is on Amazon, ladies and gentlemen. So you remember this, Dee? I did send this to you.
Oh, yeah, you showed me that one. Mm-hmm.
This is a book written by Nicholas Lucia. The NESARA and GERBRECHT theories examining the claims, criticism, and implications of alternative economic systems. Sounds like pretty much like someone that knows he talks about economics, right?
Mm-hmm.
But nothing could be further from the truth, right? Do you want to just read this? So the NESARA and GERBRECHT, yeah.
Which propose a new economic system that claims to address many of the world's economic problems, have grown in popularity in recent years. Do these theories, however, stand up to scrutiny? We explore the history, assertions, and debates surrounding NESARA and GERBRECHT in this book. We investigate the political and psychological backgrounds of these ideologies, as well as the practical effects of advocating alternative economic systems. We also take into account the objections and rebuttals of NESARA and GERBRECHT and investigate further alternative economic systems and theories that might provide more specific and fact-based remedies. In the end, we hope to offer readers a critical and fact-based assessment of NESARA and GERBRECHT, as well as a deeper knowledge of these theories and continued quest for a better economic system. That's what we do.
Yeah.
that's our job. But okay.
Judging by the review, let's have a look at the
review. Yeah, that's the one you sent me.
Of Jeff Johnson, what he says about the book. Do you want to read that?
Jeff Johnson, one side. Okay. Reviewed in the United States on October 11th, 2023. This book shares its viewpoint on the theory of NESARA and GERBRECHT without explaining what NESARA and GERBRECHT offers, and just poo-poos the whole concept. The book doesn't offer any other economic solutions to our present failing financial world. Just gives some internet links. I doubt the writer has ever studied the real history of setting up a present failing financial banking system that is not a government system, but a privately owned system of bankers and rich elites set up way before I and or the writer were ever born. A quote from the X-Files, "The truth is out there." I haven't read this particular book, but yes, Mr. Johnson seems to be accurate.
Yeah, well, try buying all those books that are on Amazon. You'd be left with no money. Then to go and fact check this. Now, there's obviously someone in the chat here that says, you put a fake comment on your screen, not in chat. More reading. What are you referring to?
Let me get back to this.
FSJ. Please be a bit more specific on what you're claiming there, please. Okay. We need you to be more specific.
You put okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Point out, yeah.
We don't sit there and make these little claims without being more specific.
Yeah, let me know what it is so I can look at it. So
so we get some context on what's going on. But you can see there's a lot of these entities out there that are writing all these books, okay? And it's just, then some of them also said, oh, AI written, so you see the comments, right? Oh, this looks like AI wrote the book. It's pretty much.
It happens, yeah.
They do.
Wait, remember what I told you in the beginning, FC? You know, in my story, I've said it over and over. When I got to this point, my mother and I put everything away. We packed it up, right? We went on with our lives. It wasn't until, Jed trotted this thing out and I sold some hard copies and people said, please, please, please put it in paperback. And I started that process of, doing the editing, reading and making sure that they were doing it correctly. I had never read my father's book. Okay. People was like, oh my God. No, I'd never read it. Why?
Mm.
Because people consider economic issues and stuff over their head. I'm no different.
Mm.
I'm a bookkeeper. I'm a lowly bookkeeper. I've done administrative work and that kind of stuff. So I have some background. But still, I knew my father. He was a genius. I said, I'll never be able to understand. Okay. I went from not knowing anything, reading this book, studying, to what you see I put out on my Facebook. When I put out those little reels, that's from my research that is related to what's going on in today's world. That's a lot. You don't, what I'm saying is I make sure that I'm learning about what I'm doing, and it's not hard. I guess that's what I want people to understand. Don't be intimidated by the subject of economics, because it's not that difficult.
That's right. And that's exactly what the politicians want you to do, is be intimidated. So you just keep focusing on your football. You know what I mean?
Right.
And letting them do whatever they're doing. Now, how about we bring out the fall of the cabal? Cynthia Koeter's.
Oh,
what
you want
said.
to?
I've got
Okay.
it right here, ready to go. So, are you ready?
Yeah, I have the article that I wrote for her.
What we'll do is we'll do her first, and then we can do your retort.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
we'll
you
do
can.
it in order.
Yeah.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, presenting for the very first time, the fall of the cabal, Cynthia Koeter. This is what she really thinks about NESARA and the truth about NESARA. Are you ready, Dee?
I'm ready. Go ahead.
Here we go. So we are live here on the Fall of the Cabal website, Substack. And this is Cynthia's work, ladies and gentlemen. NESARA in the information warfare. Let's read this one, Dee. What do you reckon?
Okay.
I think this one, and that's Cynthia there. There we go. She's the one that wrote it. And then she wrote it on the Jan 25th, 2026. So this is called NESARA in the information warfare. Let's go for it, Dee.
Okay. During the COVID era, one of the many very persistent stories in the New Age and MAGA movement was that of NESARA, promoted as a new financial system that would mean the end of poverty, the end of debt, and the beginning of a new golden age. In 2021, I dove into it to find there was some legitimacy to the story. What I discovered was not only the truth, but a perfect and shocking example of how the truth had been turned around and become an occult tool, a tool in the hands of the cabal, using it for their own occult goals. Again, my research ended in a multiple documents, hundreds of pages that I turned into a presentation of, I think it's like 2.5 hours should be, that Janet and I gave in September 2021. It is still available in my web shop if you want to know the entire story. She has the link. The original NESARA itself is a beautiful concept. It was written in 1996 by Dr. Harvey Barnard. He called it the National Economic Stabilization and Recovery Act. He embedded his ideas in a book called Draining the Swamp, which terminology has become very well known and used by Trump. Known by the use Trump gave to it. Okay.
The original and the only, she should put.
Yeah.
Because it really is the original and only.
So there's the cover of the book. So
so we read up to here.
Yeah, go down.
Okay.
I think there's a little bit more.
There's heaps more, don't worry.
Barnard handed out copies of his NESARA proposed to members of Congress and other influential political actors, including presidential candidates, but not one responded. In the year 2000, Dr. Barnard decided to publish it in a book and release it to the public. That was when he put it out on the domain in 96. He actually released the bill so people would have it. He wanted to make sure that, that was saved for posterity. And then he began to work on the book. So this is the moment something interesting happened. Sinead Candace Goodwin, 1947 to 2010, had just become victim of a huge financial scam called Omega. Her life was on dead end. She lived in a trailer with her mother. She had a $12,000 United States dollar debt, and she had invested heavily in Omega coins. When Omega turned out to be a scam, she acted like a cornered wild animal. She opened a P.O. box and asked for donations while giving daily updates about Omega still being the real thing and to be paying out soon. Swiftly, she turned the Omega narrative towards the NESARA story. Making convenient amendments, she became anonymous, calling herself Dove of Oneness, and that was from her site. My father, I recall that. I recall my parents looking at that, and
Yeah.
they're
So there's that list.
aghast, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So she renamed the original SARA from Barnard, National Economic Stabilization and Recovery Act, into NESARA, the National Economic Security and Reformation Act. When Barnard heard about Dove's version of the work, he was furious. He tried to get a recidification, but by that time, Dove already had thousands of followers, all people who clung to the hope she gave them that Omega would pay out, combined with the new people who clung to the hope that she gave of a better world free of debt. Bernard didn't stand a chance. He wasn't heard by the members of Congress, and he wasn't heard by the people. He died a frustrated man in 2005. Dr. Barnard, that's just their pictures. The story had two paths to walk. I would like to tell you about the real NESARA, what it entails, and whether it is a realistic system. Next to that, I want to tell you about Dove's NESARA and explain why her version became so popular. I would like to show you the occult tools with which she manipulated the masses, showing she is not just an innocent victim of Omega. What to do in the limited space of one's post. Let me give you an overall story today so you'll understand the concept. In my next post, I'll go into the story itself, and she goes on to talk about that. Okay, so this is stuff that probably came, I believe that came from Harvey's website. So, see, that's his, I probably got a copy of it in the trunk. Keep going down. Okay. Well, a few years ago, this sounded like Utopia. I'm very positively surprised to see that the Trump administration is already on its way to achieving most of these elements. In our presentation of 2021, I stated that Barnard's NESARA would never work as long as the deep state's in control. To make NESARA effective, lots of essential changes in the financial institutions need to be made. I mean, she's drawing parallels between what Trump has done and what is in the real NESARA. I've done that in our episodes. If people are interested, they can go back and revisit what the facts are. We have dissected that. What I can tell you is that President Trump and Harvey agreed in philosophy for sure. Whether the actual mechanics are the same, we're dealing with a different era and we're dealing with different things. So, that's not quite the same. But this is the article that she asked me to read. And she did ask me to, kind of check it for any things that might be off or, wrong or anything. And I said, oh, I'll be happy to do so. And I did. And she said, well, would you write an article for that I can put up from your point of view, telling your story? Okay. You want me to read that? This means that NESARA will bring the Fed under government and not private possession. It means that it would give back power to the people in creating money and makes the Treasury an instrument for smooth, economic, stable currency. And finally, it binds the hands of the commercial banks in case of loans, interest, and earning money on government bonds. Well, doesn't this all sound familiar to you by now? Trump is working hard to get the Fed under control, under government control. What would you expect Anons and MAGA people to celebrate these facts? Excuse me, let me reread that. You would expect former Anons and MAGA people to celebrate these facts, don't you? You would expect the term NESARA to be shouted from every rooftop. Why is that not the case? The most obvious reasons why they cannot call this NESARA anymore is because of the misinformation campaign during the last 2 decades. Many known influencers with millions of followers have abused the NESARA story to keep their followers in the powers and gain a lot of money at the same time. That's very good. Terms as almost there, big announcement to be made, insider information tells me, kept the public hoping and waiting for years. Now that the real NESARA seems to be worked out, people don't believe in it anymore.
Stop right there. Just stop right there. I want people to read this part. Very important. Many known influencers with millions of followers. Now, this comes from Cynthia Koeter from the Fall of the Cabal. Now, remember, these influencers were using the Fall of the Cabal as a way of pushing their grift and other things like James Rink stuff. You know what I mean? Now, she's actually admitting it, ladies and gentlemen, right here in this in this document.
Yeah.
On their website. Many known influencers with millions of followers have abused. Now, think about that. They have abused it. They've known what they've done. They've done it deliberately.
Yeah.
They spread the disinformation that is the people have spread it now and become misinformation. They've abused the NESARA story to keep their followers in their power. There you go. And gain a lot of money through monetization, through selling their wares. Look at that. It's right there in black and white.
Right there. Yeah, she's got it nailed. She's got it nailed.
She nailed it 120%.
And I would like to point out something as well in the next paragraph.
Yes.
Now, this is now that the real NESARA seems to be worked out, people don't believe in it anymore. It is not worked out, okay, in no way, shape, or form. This bill, which you can read for yourself, the bill is in chapter 5, and it's actually 22 pages long, I believe. That's the way a bill should be. It is fully ready to be presented at Congress. That's the way Harvey wrote it. It is not being done. Okay. You've got a couple little holding placeholders up there. You know, you've got the one about the Fed, and we have dissected this on the Real NESARA show several times, and I've pulled out the different bills and what's good and what's bad. Do not be fooled and thinking, oh, well, I can just sit back and wait for it to come. It's not coming. Okay. Unless people educate themselves and tell their representatives, yes, we want this. We don't want HR 25. We don't want to just change the address on the Fed. You know, we want the banking industry to be changed. We want compound interest to go away. We want credit creation of money to stop. Okay. So I just, like I said, I'm very happy of all of this kind of stuff. And when she published my letter, but people need to know the truth. They need to know the truth. It's not done.
Look at the timelines, love. I mean, look, we've been pushing it out there since the Kraken, right?
Yeah. August. Yeah. August.
That's right. So look at the timelines. Look at the timelines. Now, ever since we've been pushing it, okay, we're gaining traction. Now, this is big. Have a think about this. The Fall of the Cabal series has millions and millions of viewers worldwide. Worldwide. Think about this. Then those influencers used Janet's work and Cynthia's to manipulate people to their gain, to gain money. And they used that, then they abused it, right?
Yeah.
Now, people really need to think about this and share this. This video has to go viral. Sorry. This video today has to go all over the place. We need to get this message out there, because the sooner we do, the sooner we can stop these others from continuing to manipulate their followers and continue to make a lot of money from doing it.
That's right.
Cynthia's gone out there and said it. It's time that people push this out there far and wide. I want to make that very clear.
Yes, I appreciate that. And you're exactly right. And, you know, we've had corroboration from some other sources as well that we're following up on. People that are saying, hey, you know, and I'm not going to name the names now. I'm just going to say, you know, when we have, you know, confirmation from them that our efforts are paying off, you know, and as hard as FC and I and the team work, you know, I also have to thank our viewers for that. Okay. They're out there just like I am every day, you know, hitting those sites and saying, okay, this is fake, you know, and reporting them and spreading the truth a little bit at a time. And it's taken, my gosh, what, all these months for, you know, to get this far. Grassroots. Grassroots.
That's right.
That's what it's done. And this is the same thing. This show that you and I are doing right now needs to be shared as many times as far as you can. You don't,
Yes.
people always say, oh, I don't want it to because I'm, people might think I'm strange or what. Are you kidding? This is news now. It's
That's right.
actually exposed these people with more than just his daughter and one investigative journalist saying so. They've gone out and done their own research and that kind of stuff. So I'm very, very encouraged.
We're making waves, and a lot of people are taking notice now. Obviously, Dee, we've been looking at the grifters. They're falling backwards now. They're starting to do either backflips, which there's no coming back from, right?
Right.
But also there are, when I mean entities that are taking notice, there's huge ones, which we can't reveal at this point.
Right.
Because we're going to keep our cards close to our chest, ladies and gentlemen. It's very important. But know this, that their days are coming to an end, okay? And we're exposing it. This is just the beginning, isn't it, Dee? This is just the beginning of the end for them.
That is correct. That is correct. So.
Yes. Now,
you want me
going?
Okay. Let's
Where
see.
are we up to?
I was talking about the line that, yes, I was saying that the real NESARA is not worked out, and we need people on our side to read the bill and decide if that's what they want or not. Okay. So next paragraph. This is how real misinformation works in the information warfare. For years, people have been bombarded with false information, with scams and hope porn until they lost all hope and faith. They have been blackpilled. This huge group of front runners in the Great Awakening have been effectively disempowered and erased from the battlefield. They can't believe anymore in any form of positive outcome, as they have been disappointed for many years in a row. They woke up into seeing they couldn't trust their governments and ended up being lied to again and again by the same people who woke them up. This is literally mind control and torture. These people are really in a bad place. The only remedy for a situation like this is going back to the facts. This is why doing your own research is so important. Even though I guide you through my jungle of research, I will always encourage you to check the facts that I present to you. I will never ask you to believe me on my word. As you can see with the black pill people, that is a dangerous thing to do. So let's end this post with some information about the true NESARA. In my next post, I'll show you the deception of the fake NESARA and hope you will never fall for these traps again. These pages from Barnard's NESARA show you how public and private debates are going to be reduced. Barnard gave some examples to make the narrative more understandable as well. So,
and then she put some
she put some information, and that's from the build stuff that came from the website. That was from a long time ago.
Everybody here, why is this important?
Why is this important?
Yep.
The NESARA that trickled people into the fall of the mind trap was void of any calculation, any fact, any example. It operated on people's greed and fear of missing out. Barnard's NESARA was for real, a calculated and well thought over new financial system which could break the power of the cabal forever.
Keeps going.
You want to read for a while?
Barnard's NESARA was a threat to the cabal. They didn't need to kill him, only his life's work. They killed it in the most effective way, making sure no one would ever believe in it anymore. That makes perfect sense because we discussed this. Remember, Dee?
We discussed this a long time ago. Yeah.
Remember when we talk about that? We know that the CIA have assets, just like the Mossad. They have assets. They deploy these assets, right, to discredit things, to distort facts, and all that. We, from what we've come to a conclusion, because remember, your father sent that letter to Bill Clinton, right?
He sent a package to him, yeah.
Yeah, the Bill, even though he was the former president back then, is that correct? When he said it doesn't matter, connections, right? That's what it's all about. Now, do you think they would be happy about bringing on NESARA? the real NESARA? No.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
So they
No
would
way.
use their assets. And that's why I'm saying when you look at Shanae Goodwin, she looks like she's been very well funded from someone that was from trailer origin. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, and then she was in debt, well in debt, and been
Yes.
scammed and all
To
that
be
kind of
able to
stuff.
do that.
Yeah, correct. And so you have to ask yourself, and as much what we know now, there was a couple of things in the article here that she wrote that, she asked for my input. And one of the biggest ones that Harvey died frustrated. He didn't die frustrated. He was
Yes.
disappointed. He was disappointed and a little bewildered that people, he was a brilliant man, and he had good intentions, and he was a problem solver, and he couldn't wrap around in his mind that this is a good plan, this was work, this is the benefit for everyone. We're not throwing anybody under the bus here. Everybody gets to make a good living, and we have an honest, fair system, profitable and strong and full of growth. And how somebody could, not utilize that or not even look at it was something that he couldn't. So he was like I said, a little bewildered and disappointed. But you think about that. The people in control, what's the first thing in their playbook? Is they discredit. So once he released it into the public domain in 1996, they could not unring that bell. It was out there for the whole world to see. So now they have to figure out how to make it, not appealing. What do? You make it fringe. And that's the way it's been. And if you look at my timeline that I started back in the 90s, go all the way through, it got worse and worse every year. Every couple of years that something else was tacked on and something else was tacked on, and it grew like a fishing story. It ended up with, we've got people from Mars and Galactic Federation and all that kind of stuff. It's
Oh God, don't even go there.
crazy.
Let's continue on. So they killed it in the most effective way, making sure that no one would ever believe in it anymore. So they did, that was all done deliberately because it got painted with the same brush. You know what I mean? It took 2 decades to do it, but it was effective and thorough. They won a big battle in the information war. We are in information warfare, and you know that we're up against algorithms, right? Now, I've explained this, Dee.
Oh, yeah.
Think about this. Like I've said, let me just pause it for a moment here. Let's talk.
Okay.
Very important. We are up against entities that are right at the top. And I've spoken about this on the Pulse, right? And I've revealed the code. I've shown you the algorithms and how they're able to deboost, stop us from reaching the larger audience known as non-followers, put us at a reputation score in the minuses, okay, and put filters. They're able to do that on every platform. Even Rumble does it. All of them do it, okay? They deploy algorithms because they don't want the real truth. We are a threat, ladies and gentlemen. We are a threat. And the reason why we are a threat is because we're bringing out everything on the facts, evidence, and receipts, aren't we, Dee?
That's right.
That's the difference. The others can be easily discredited because they're putting out fairy tales and they want them to continue on dirtying the waters so then President Trump in the end looks bad, all right? People don't get it. What they're doing is by doing what they're doing, they're making out that President Trump is making all these promises, that Q has made all these promises, which it hasn't. That's fact. They blur the lines, they dirty the waters, and in the end, who looks bad? President Trump.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they're doing.
And people like my father and us,
Exactly.
and people who believe, I was encouraged to do this by people he knew and people who had read his work and knew of the value and the meritocracy of it and said, you've got to do this. And I was like, okay, here I am, but you're right. They made it, like I said, fringe. And so it could never be considered viable, and they gave it no, they've never produced a bill. They've never produced anything but a ditto sheet. They have no mechanics. I heard one person say on a podcast, I said, well, once we figure out how to get all of these things done, they was talking about within the NESARA plan, I said, it's already figured out. It's written right here, that he was talking about the fantasy one.
The problems, D, is this, that your father's NESARA has been washed, you know what I mean, with the same brush and sucked into this vortex right here.
Yeah.
That's the problem. This is what we're dealing with, ladies and gentlemen. This is a huge spider web. And the only way we're going to dismantle it is grassroots, because we are dealing with, like I said, entities up the top that are running the show through algorithms, are creating a firewall from us reaching out to non-followers. Now, had that firewall not existed, we would be, forget about it. It would be on, right? It would be on.
People would have learned the truth, quicker. And that's where we're headed. That's where we want to be. It's, Harvey always said, if you don't like my ideas, I'll sit down. But they at least deserve to be heard in their authenticity, right? And that's what we're trying to do. And something like this article here on the fall of cabal, and then my subsequent follow-up story is a major benefit. It helps us tremendously. And I'm so thankful that, we get that kind of exposure and opportunity. I hope people will help spread that as well and share that information.
What we need to do is get to the big names, okay, and get exposure that way. And we are working our way.
We're working on it. A little bit at a time.
We are working our way up.
Yeah.
Right? And when it does happen, it's going to be an explosion. That's what's going to happen. And it's going to be the end game for all of them. Now, let's continue on. Today, I want to honor his work. So she wants to honor your father's work, his contribution to making this world a better place. And what better way to honor his work than to acknowledge that Trump is executing his plan, the swamp is being drained, a fair and new world is glowing at the horizon. Unknowingly, these people call for Barnard's proposal to be executed. Now that we know his life was not in vain, he tended to believe himself. What do you take from that?
She didn't know my father. So, it's a little bit difficult. You want to comment on someone's state of mind, and he did not think his life was in vain. My father was happy all the time, I was with him when he passed away, and he said, okay, this is what I got for you. And, I had no idea at the time that, this is what he was talking about. And I can look back now in hindsight and say that this is what he meant. I think he knew that it wasn't, its time would come, but it wasn't yet, and it's unfortunate that because we've wasted so much time, the system now has gotten so big and so out of hand. It's, how are we going to fight this? How are we going to stop the lack of privacy, get us back to a fair monetary system and fiscal policy where people actually have a level playing field. So there you are.
Now, D, she gave you the opportunity, so Cynthia gave you the opportunity to retort and to put your own post up on the fall of the cabal. That is correct, isn't it?
That is right.
I've got it here waiting if you'd like to start reading.
Okay. I've got, yes. You can bring it up. I've got it on my screen, either one. Okay. So we exchanged emails and she was very pleasant and I enjoyed speaking with her. And she asked me to tell my story. And I've told my story a lot. And I said, well, I'm going to touch on that, but I want people to know about the bill. So I spent a little bit of time talking about the actual mechanics of what the bill will do. I think that's what's lacking in the conversation.
Yes.
You know, the fake stuff has just made it all pie in the sky. And if you look back on all the book studies that you and I have done, if you go to the NESARA shows on Rumble under FCB, you can see actual everything that we have studied in the book and how wonderful it is. But, okay, let's get started.
What we're doing is indexing it.
Okay, yeah.
I'm going to sort that out, and we're going to make some shorts, and we're going to really hit it.
Okay, good. Yeah, we'll start editing on this for.
When you read.
Okay, so this is her. My post of January 24th, 2026 about NESARA traveled fast around the world, so fast that it reached the daughter of Harvey F. Barnard, the original author of NESARA. Within a few days, she reached out to me and I invited her to write her side of the story as she dedicated her life to restore the truth about NESARA. So here is her story, her battle against the lies and abuse of a beautiful initiative. I promise you to write another post about NESARA soon, explaining how this beautiful initiative turned into a money-generating scam. With love, as always, Cynthia. Okay, so this is my article, and it's called A Conspiracy Theory in Reverse. It says, why I returned to my father's NESARA fight and why citizens must stop waiting for saviors. Most of my adult life, I paid little attention to politics and almost none to fiscal policy. Not because it didn't matter, but because, like most people, I assumed it was too complicated and out of reach. Economics felt like something experts argued about in Washington, not something ordinary citizens could truly understand. The irony is that my own father had written one of the most comprehensive reform bills of our time, and I had never fully read it. Not until justice demanded that I did. My father, Harvey F. Barnard, was not a political activist nor a public personality. He was an engineer and an economist. God, I've been reading too long. By temperament, the kind of person who looked at a system, identified what wasn't working, and tried to design a practical solution. For decades, that solution took the form of a legislative proposal he called National Economic Stabilization and Recovery Act, or NESARA. It was written as a revolution. It was written as a protest. It wasn't written as a protest. It was a simple bill, a detailed attempt to correct what he believed were structural flaws in America's monetary and tax systems. He believed ordinary working people were quietly losing ground, not because they weren't productive, but because the rules of money and taxation were stacked against them from the start. In the early 1990s, he carried copies of the proposal to Washington. It was met with polite smiles and little action. Real reform, we learned, threatens entrenched interest. Eventually, rather than let the work disappear into a drawer, he released it into the public domain so that it would belong to the people. Before his passing in 2005, he documented his entire effort in his book, Draining the Swamp, the NESARA Story.
Let's keep going here.
After that, my mother and I tried to keep his work alive for a while, but by then something else had already begun to spread. Around 2000, the grift started. Misinformation multiplied faster than we could counter it. We still had to work and support ourselves, and eventually we stepped back, assuming the truth would stand on its own merits for anyone who cared to look. Instead, something stranger happened. NESARA didn't fade away, it mutated. Over time, my father's straightforward policy proposal became wrapped in layers of internet mythology. It was suddenly associated with secret wealth distributions, hidden government takeovers, global resets, and every imaginable political or spiritual spiritual fantasy. The further the story drifted from reality, the more attention it seemed to get. Meanwhile, the actual bill, the real document, grew harder and harder to find. Then I discovered something that made it impossible to stay quiet. People were making money off of it. Strangers, many of whom had slandered my father's name and reputation, were selling insider updates, subscriptions, and miracle promises using his acronym, while the substance of his life's work was being drowned out. His ideas had become a brand for speculation instead of serious policy conversation. Friends and readers who knew both me and my father urged me to step back in. They encouraged me to republish his work in an affordable paperback so ordinary people could read it directly, without distortion or inflated prices. What began as a simple publishing project became an education, I quickly learned just how thoroughly the truth had been buried. Search engines were saturated with fantasy. Social media amplified the loudest voices, not the most accurate ones. Even straightforward explanations struggled to resurface. Trying to talk about the real NESARA, you got ridiculed by fantasy followers and dismissed by serious reformers as fringe. At some point, I realized that if I didn't speak, the only versions left would be the fake ones. So I came back, not to sell hope, not to promise miracles, not to attach my father's work to any political personality. I came back to restore context, because reality is far less dramatic and far more practical than the stories. The original NESARA bill was never about secret rescues or overnight wealth. It focused on the mechanics of everyday life and how money is created, how taxes are collected, and how those systems quietly affect families. My father believed that if you fix those foundations, a lot of the pressure people feel will ease naturally. Instead of navigating thousands of pages of tax code and living with constant payroll withholding, the proposal called for eliminating federal income tax and replacing it with a straightforward national sales tax. In practical terms, that meant workers would receive their full paycheck and pay taxes only when they chose to spend. The endless paperwork, audits, and compliance costs that defined the current system would shrink dramatically. He also challenged the way money is created, primarily as interest-bearing debt. Today, most dollars enter the economy because someone borrowed them into existence, which means the interest must always be paid back to the banks. That structure quietly transfers wealth upward and keeps households, businesses, and even governments trapped in a cycle of repayment. His efforts aim to stabilize the currency and reduce that constant drain so savings could hold their value and debt wouldn't feel like a life sentence. For an ordinary family, these changes wouldn't look exotic. They would look simple. Paychecks that go further, mortgages that cost less over time, fewer forms, fewer middlemen, fewer hidden drains on income, more control over your own financial life. Not fantasy, just fairness. These are the bread and butter issues that deserve serious political debate. But once something is labeled as conspiracy, debate stops. People either mock it or blindly believe in it. In both cases, they stop thinking critically, and that's a real loss. Because my father never believed in saviors or secret plans. He believed in citizens. He believed reform happens in the slow, unglamorous way through education, conversation, and pressure on elected representatives. Democracy isn't cinematic. It's procedural, but it works. Today, my role is simple. I'm not here as a theorist or a personality. I'm just the daughter of a man who wrote up the bill, trying to make sure it is judged on what it actually says, not on the story someone else invented. If people read it and disagree, that's fine. Debate is healthy, but let the debate be grounded in reality, because waiting for rescue has never fixed anything. Learn, engage, ask questions, read the bill, talk to your representative. Stop waiting for someone else to save you. That was my father's message, and now that's mine too.
Oh, I got the God bumps like Carol did as well. So Carol's got the God bumps here.
Oh, God.
Glory to God. Yeah, that's amazing. Well done. That was well written. Well done, Dee.
Thank you.
Awesome work.
Yeah, worked hard. So, yeah, and you can get that link on my Facebook page. If you go to the website, go down to the bottom, click the Facebook, you get over there, and you'll see the link to that article, and it'll pull it up. And of course, it has our little thing. You can just say no thanks, and it'll take you right to the article. Unless you want to subscribe, that's fine too. So when people think they have to pay for it, if they,
people were getting choked up in the chat too.
Thank you.
Rosedale was getting choked up. And
hi, Rose.
It is very emotional. For us, it's a huge win.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's emotional for me to write it. I had to, it's, but I wanted to make sure that I was clear, and on what his vision was.
See, what we're producing and what is factual is factual. It's there. What the others have been doing is bouncing off Shanae Goodwin's work and all her fictitious claims. Now, those things have repercussions. As you can see, even Cynthia said that they are abusing. Now, think about that. They are abusing their position.
Right.
People take what they say as testament. That's the thing. So they take what they say is testament.
Mm-hmm.
They even put their house on the line. You saw one of them in Canada, in Vancouver, put her house on the line because of these influencers.
Well, it goes much deeper than that. It's not just the house. So we've heard stories about people who spent tens of thousands of dollars buying into these, whatever it's the reevaluation or accounts
RV,
and all
yes.
this, the RV, all that kind of stuff. And their family members are worried about them. And, it's sad. They have just put their whole lives and all their hope, like I said, criminals are criminals, whether they're holding you up through the mail or with a gun. And that's one thing. And you've heard what Jean said. She said, crime is bad, but to steal someone's hope is absolutely probably the worst, and they work by instilling that fear. If you don't do this, you're going to be left with nothing. This is the way to get rich and that kind of stuff. And it just, and they prey on people. And it's a shame.
It is a shame. And that's the thing. I mean, they have enriched themselves like you wouldn't believe, beyond enrichment. And then they call it entertainment purposes.
Yeah.
That's how they cover it. Oh, I've seen it, D, where they go out there, they say the garbage that they say, and at the end they say it's entertainment purposes. Are you being entertained? Do you want to be entertained, or do you want to know the truth?
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Because we're not here to entertain anybody. We're here to give you the truth. Now, these others, they do all these song and dances. They drive in their cars. They talk crap. Okay, I've seen it over and over again. Yeah. And people are drawn to them because of their sensationalism, the way they conduct themselves. It's like watching a circus, really. So when are people going to get off the merry-go-round and get real?
And how is that helping you? If you're a person at home and you're watching this, how is that helping you get where you want to be? Okay. And if where you want to be is secure in your finances, you need to learn about economics. Okay. It is the simple stuff. Okay. You need to take some responsibility for yourself and your family and learn. And I know a lot of people do, they're out there doing the thing. They're learning and they're trying to make the good decisions, and they're still behind and they're still stuck because the system is stacked against them. So then you have to go and say, okay, I want my representatives to know that this is what we want. I've heard a lot of people come and say, yeah, but they're crooked. They're not going to do anything. That's not the point. It's en masse. It's like sharing the video. You've got to keep it going. You've got to keep it in their face, right? I can tell you, they know who I am because I send emails all the time, and it's like, oh my God, it's her again.
Another culprit is this character's right here. AMG News, ladies and gentlemen, get familiar with them. Judy Byington. Okay, Byington. Okay, look at that. Medbeds, Guantanamo Bay, QFS. Okay, and you know where this is going, D. All right. All I have to do is type in the magic 2-letter words, okay? NESARA, GERBRECHT. That's all I need to type in here. And this is the thing, right down the bottom, it's going to say the same thing, isn't it? Which is for entertainment purposes only. That's what they do. That's how they cover themselves, right? So look at this. They've got the med beds going on. See? Giving people all these false hopes based on thin air and artificial intelligence pictures. Look at this right there. First med bed. Look at this 5D setup. That's an AI picture, ladies and gentlemen.
Picture. Yeah.
Right there. So when are people going to stop enabling these caster characters? When are people going to get real? Look at this. There we go. There I say, there we are. Right in front of our face. There we go. Medbeds, GERBRECHT, and because it's the global grift. You know that.
Oh yeah. And I click on them and I go in there and I make my comments and I report them and all that kind of stuff. And I do that. I was talking to my husband the other day. I said, that's a ritual I do every morning.
There we go. And let me see if I can find the disclaimer again. Right. Because let's see. Did they have a disclaimer? Let's see. I don't see one here. So they must, what, do they?
Go back up a little bit. Look on the left-hand side right here. We are dedicated.
Wait. Down. Here, you mean?
We are dedicated to the truth. True journalism and the truth movement. Please. The truth will set us free and it will enlighten, inspire, awaken, and unite us.
Sorry.
Okay.
If this is the truth, seriously, they can be taken to the cleaners with this, right?
Yeah, unless they have something on there.
I'm
sure they do. You have to have something like that.
Let's see. Others, world embeds, anything else. This is what I'm saying. These fictitious claims are continuing on. Oh yeah, and donations, by the way. People donate to these people.
Yes. That's
22 faces. Yeah, 22 faces of bullshit. That's what it is. Okay, there we go. There's the fear porn. FEMA camp terror. Right there, D. That comes from the double oneness. I've proven that, remember?
Oh, yes, I remember that. Yes.
I was the one that proved it on the Kraken.
Yeah. Concentration.
I've also been the one, ladies and gentlemen, to prove that nonsense about McDonald's being human meat. Watch my pulse.
Crazy.
I brought that out.
That was a good one.
Based on facts and some receipts. This is what we're dealing with, and it just continues on. I mean, look, it's just ridiculous. I don't know where it ends. Look at this. JP's med bed treatment. Really, why don't we put Charlie Ward into JP med bed treatment? I didn't see him in one. We saw him in a hospital bed. And then if President Trump, had this technology, why didn't he save the guy that did the, the cartoon character? What was his name? Scott, that recently passed on. The one that, that President Trump tried to send him for cancer treatment and he ended up dying. The one that did that, Dilbert, that's the one.
Okay.
Dilbert. Yeah.
Okay.
Why didn't we put him in a med bed? You know what I mean? Oh, no, he signed an NDA. That's probably why, and he can't disclose it. That's the garbage that we continue here to this very
They've been
day.
saying that for 26 years. And I would think, didn't you smell a rat by now? But if you look, let me pull up that timeline I have, because this will put things in perspective for people. Let's see here. Okay, let me pull this over here, because it's
just ridiculous. Honestly.
Okay. Now I'm gonna blow this up here.
Yeah, blow it up. All right.
Okay. So is that good? I think everybody can read it. So this is what I put together. Let me take it down one notch so you can see the pictures. Okay. Where we started with the pseudo NESARA and bringing it all up to today, and how it grew like a fish story. And that's what I say. You catch a little fish, and then by the time it's this big.
Look at little Jean. She said, people are desperate, scared, and they're willing to grasp at straws, and those arseholes know that they are taking it. So they're taking advantage of these people. Yes.
They are scared. And they don't know what to do. And you're absolutely correct. They're being taken advantage of.
If you hear the stories, they they sit around and they talk about, when the med beds come out, I'm going to lose all this weight. I'm going to jump in there and instantaneously that weight's going to disappear. Or I'm going to go back 25 years and all these sort of things. And it's like, okay, can that be proven yet?
No.
Do you know what I mean? I go by facts, evidence, and receipts, but can that be proven yet? Why do they continue to use AI pictures? You know what I mean? Of the fictitious med beds. They're going to use
anything that they can to get their point across. Again, remember, we're dealing with con artists, okay, and grifters. They're not interested in what's right and wrong. Do you think that they have remorse about what kind of picture they're going to use? No. They're going to put whatever they can to get up there. You can't even engage in conversation with them. If you've gone to these sites, it was like I was telling you, you go you see the post and you can go maybe make a post, and then you have to go to the other. Remember the one I traced through Telegram, and we had to go back and forth before we could ever get to the, the real thing. And you don't ask anybody any direct questions. They don't answer anything. It's not like us. We open the chat up and say fire away. We want to engage people and help. You can't do that.
Takes us on. That's the problem.
They want you to believe what they say, and that's it, and send the money. So
we've offered so many times for them to come on the show.
Oh yeah, we've done that too,
and to have a decent debate, but they won't do it.
No, and but that's okay. We're still pushing. That tells me everything I need to know.
Yes.
Okay, that tells me everything. I don't need to go any further.
No. Let's continue on with that, and then I've got something to show you.
Okay, so I won't be long. So it started back, with the Farmers Claim Program, which Mr. Roy was arrested for that, and it had nothing to do with NESARA. Now, Harvey released NESARA in 96 on the public domain. So this is the time frame we're in.
So Royce Washington, I did that whole thing on the cracking, and I explained they used him as the excuse of being the farmer and all that sort of business. And I exposed that he's actually a con artist.
He was.
And then remember that James Rink talked it was like some sort of hero, talked him up. You know what I mean? The problem is this, ladies and gentlemen, James Rink is no longer with us, yet he's left us with a mess. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah. With a lot of, and that movie and all that kind of stuff. So, okay, in 2000, the claim made by Shanae Goodwin that NESARA was secretly passed. This is where it kicked off. And was added that 15 members of Congress forced to vote for it at gunpoint. Clinton signed it, and gag orders were issued. So this was the lie in 2000. And the medium, which means the method it was transferred, the news was spread, was mass emails and newsletters by the Dove, archived at nesara.us.
Yes.
Impact on this was launches the modern pseudo-NESARA myth. This is started the whole thing. Okay. 2001, this has continued going on, but they added a little bit more story. The fish gets a little bit bigger, right? Alan Greenspan was set to announce NESARA at 10 a.m. This was in 2001. WTC and Pentagon hit to destroy NESARA computers and white knights. Now, this was when the 9/11 happened. Okay,
yeah, I
and
debunked that too.
I know they claimed that was to stop NESARA's passions and go down that road.
I debunked the white knights business that they spoke about.
Yeah, you got the white knights.
Oneness. Yeah.
We'll just use logic. Come on,
Yes.
The NESARA is so bad that you're going to kill 3,000 Americans. Stop. Okay. The impact of that, myth was that it became the core of the enduring lie. Okay. So now it's kind of taken on a little bit more meat. We continue. She continues. 2002 to 2004, they added the Galactic Federation. NESARA must occur before Ascension secret program funds. That's that prosperity program type stuff for light workers. Now, Matthew Ward, Chandler, Susan Ward, they joined the group here, and they spread this through the Starseed websites and channeling forums.
You sure they're not related to Charlie Ward?
I don't know. You know what? I saw that the other day, and I didn't catch it the first time I did this, and I thought, I better ask FC about that. I want to look into that.
Maybe you could do a little bit of a dig.
Yeah, we could just dive on that a little bit. Okay, 2003. Now, this is Miss Nancy Detweller. She came out, she publishes The History of NESARA. Now, she provides spiritual framing that makes the myth appealing to millions of people worthwhile. She added the St. Germain Trust, Ascended Master Oversight, NESARA as God's Plan, prosperity programs. She wrote the history of NESARA. She never even bothered to look at the real one. Maybe she did. I don't know.
The folks
I don't know.
The real one looks like, please. I'll put you. I'll put you up on the screen here. Go for it.
Okay.
You do it.
Okay. So this is the real book. Let me make sure I get over here. Yeah. Okay. This is it. This is the real one. And she never bothered, and maybe she did, and she knew what she was doing. I don't know. Okay. But anyway, so she adds all of this pathway to ascension.com. That was her publication, her way of spreading information. And she continued with this 2004, 2005. And this is when Harvey died. So you can see he has now lived through all of this. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he, like I said, he was sick and he didn't have any money. We didn't have any money to fight this stuff. They expanded it. It links NESARA to the 2012 prophecies. NESARA as the transition to the fifth dimension Earth. Again, put out on the pathway to ascension. Detweiler becomes one of the three main characters of the modern myth. So we've got three people going on here. We've got Nancy, we've got Shanae, and we had that other gentleman. Where was he? Matthew Ward and Susan Ward. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Continue on. 2008 to 2012. Detweiler merges NESARA with Obama optimism. Obama is aware of NESARA. This is what the myth that they added. He is a light worker preparing for disclosure. And again, out on her website. Now, was Obama aware of NESARA? I can't speak to that one way or the other. You know, I will tell you this. Harvey went up there and he visited every congressman that would talk to him, every aide. And, you know, I've always said, somewhere up there, I bet you can find a dusty old copy sitting up there on a shelf somewhere of his bill that he brought up there. But as to who knew about it and when and where, I can't speak to that. But it is possible. You know, anything's possible. But he certainly wasn't going to do anything about it. Okay, 2009 to 2012. Enter Mr. Steve Becko. Begins publishing on NESARA Ascension. Platform was the 2012 scenario.com. This is where they added in the NESARA is divinely coordinated. The ET disclosure is required before NESARA. I believe that's what they're saying is the extraterrestrial disclosure before that they can actually implement it. NESARA will eliminate.
Do you remember that movie? It goes back to the days of Sinead Goodwin, Waiting for NESARA.
Yeah,
and they were doing these channeling of ETs and sounded like someone that had too many cigarettes.
Yeah,
did you watch that video where they're
at
the local KFC talking crap?
Mm-hmm.
And these people were the victims. Let me just put it in perspective.
Okay.
These people, they actually believe Sinead Goodwin's garbage because she would go and they would go on her website and she would pump them full of all the garbage to do with Saint Germain as well. You know, all these things.
Mm-hmm.
So all of it came from her. And then what these others did were they come along and they magnified and kicked the can up the road. That's all they've been doing. Isn't that right, Dee?
That's right. That's right. And as you know, I'm not sure when Nancy passed away, and I know we have a death here for Shanae, but even after they passed away, the story was already going, right? So we have Mr. Becko here. He adds all of this stuff. And 2010 to 2012 event, NESARA announcement soon, predictions every few months. And this is when this finally links the NESARA to the 2012 Ascension hype. Mm-hmm. 2015,
where the world is going to end.
Yes. That's right. The world was going to end. And I always, and every time somebody says that, I always go back to what George Carlin said. George Carlin said,
they still continue on with that business.
Oh yeah. This is still going on. I see sites all the time on YouTube.
Yeah. And the end of the world as well. The end time specialist.
Everybody has a theory.
That link NESARA, we know who one of the major players is, Dr. Scott Young.
Dr. Scott Young. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll let you continue on.
Yeah. And all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So we've talked about him many times. But they always go back to what George Carlin said about the end of the world. People always get upset about the end of the world. He said, the world is fine. The earth is not going anywhere. It's been here for 4 billion years. Humans may go somewhere, but the earth is going to be fine. So don't worry about it. It will heal itself. Anyway. Okay. So 2015 to 2017, global. This is when we hit the GESARA. Okay. Global NESARA GERBRECHT appears online. The myths added were the BRICS nations adopting NESARA principles, global debt forgiveness, quantum financial system. Okay? The platforms begin to expand: YouTube, Gaia TV channels, and New Age Telegram groups. 2018 claim Trump cooperating with QFS and global currency reset. Myth added: alliance versus cabal war. World leaders secretly implementing GESARA. You got to understand this is being put out by these people on these platforms. Okay, they're still going.
Make one thing clear. Okay, so we'll just go back down to there for a moment, D. Okay, now President Trump is he is exposing the world's evil. You can see it, right? Let's be factual about it. So never before has the Federal Reserve been exposed. Never before has the IRS been exposed as President Trump is exposing them. And then he's exposing all these other things. Now, this is what I want to say about, and I'll just really quickly say Epstein Island. Who was the one that brought it to the table? It was President Trump. It wasn't Obama. It wasn't Bill Clinton. It wasn't George Bush. It was him. That's what people got to remember. The other thing is, as well, is that QAnon is something that they created to discredit Q, which is military intelligence. Now, President Trump, you've seen him on Truth Social with the Q plus all over the place. So that, to me, you can prove over and over again. The problem is this: they've taken all that and they've added all the fictitious. So you got facts and fiction. Now, what they've done is they're taking it all, and as Q has said in one of the drops, there's no such thing as QAnon. Made it very clear. There is Q and there's Anon, two separate entities, right?
Right.
Now, what's happened is that they've taken all this and they've dirtied the waters, and people don't know what's what. That's the issue. And that's how these con artists work, D. You know how they work. They get facts and they get fiction, and they mix it all up, and people think that it's all real.
Well, yeah, they have a little bit of each
between the two. Yeah.
That's right. They have a little bit of each, and then as it gets bigger and bigger, it's how can I put you in this car today? It's like what? Oh, that's your favor. Okay, well, let's add that to the list. Okay. This person over here wants that, the one, and it just keeps growing and growing. And yes, is President Trump exposing corruption in the system? You bet he is. Okay. Is he going to implement the things in this book? I can't tell you that. Okay. I can tell you that philosophically, it appears that President Trump and Harvey agree. Mechanically, we're not there yet. And so I think that's when the people need to kind of start chiming in. We've heard me say it a bunch of times. President Trump is one person. Okay. He's doing the best he can. You got to help the man out. You've got to let them know that you support him. You also have to let him know what you want, what kind of system you want to live in. It's your money. It's your country. It's your world. You should do that. So, okay, back to this.
Keep going, love. Sorry. I just need to
no, that's good. It's a good point because we need to address that. They mixed it up with this, and that's not making him look bad too, and that's not the case. As I see it.
Well, that's right. And then you think about this, right? So let's go back to 2001. That was the days of 9/11, right? So think about this. That is a disaster, right? That was a threat against humanity, if you will. Fast forward 2012, the end, you know what I mean, with the Mayan calendar. Fast forward track to 2020, COVID.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're just about to get there. Yeah.
What I'm saying is I'm trying to establish the patterns. Do you see what I'm saying about patterns, right? Patterns are very
because
important.
the pattern of the taking advantage of people at their lowest point.
Correct. So they're taking advantage of people at their point of, shall we say, when they're in fear. They take advantage of it, just like what they did in 2020, just like what they did in 2012, just like what they did in 2001. And you keep going back and back and back, and it's exactly the same if you will, proverbial playbook.
Right. Right. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And that's part of their MO, or how they operate. So we had a question here I'll address just real quick.
Sure.
Was your father aware of all this nonsense, and what did he think of all their garbage? We've covered that a little bit earlier in the show. I don't know if you had to dip out, but my father was aware while he was alive of Sinead Goodwin, and yeah, he was very disappointed, and that he could not mount a defense against this kind of grift before he passed away. But again, that's why, he has the book here. She started grifting in 2000. He got this book out right before he died in 2005. And there's a chapter in here that talks about the grift, and he wanted to make sure that got out to the people and on record. So if that answers your question.
And then also we had interviews with your mother. Okay, yeah. So there's 2 interviews. The one that you conducted with yourself and your mum. Please watch that. And then the other one that we did as well with Jean live with both of us here.
Jean Unplugged.
Not long ago.
Yeah.
So those kind of, you'll be able to get that information and get Jean's take as well. So please watch that.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. So we were 2020, which is what we're talking about. COVID hits. Lockdowns create a new wave of NESARA content. Again, saying Trump's going to implement it. World Bank secretly switching to gold. Then he comes on board with the XRP, the XLM, the Bitcoin, all that tied to NESARA. And of course, the platforms TikTok, YouTube, and Telegram pumping it out there. Then 21 to 23. We have the viral TikTok creator spread NESARA debt forgiveness claims. Tens of millions of people now see the pseudo NESARA for the first time. This is really more exposure for them because social media is getting bigger and broader. 23 to 24. BRICS gold currency equals NESARA. These are things that they just kept adding on to the story. Global debt wiped out. Global debt wipeout is imminent. It's going to be here any day. And then it brings us to the current, they have it, New Age spirituality, QAnon geopolitics, crypto speculation, sovereign citizen ideology. And of course, there's all of your social platforms. So the point of this exercise is to see how it started. And even after Nancy Detwaller's death, after Sinead Goodwin's death, these new people coming along picked it up and ran with it,
The problem is, D, is this, okay, that there are, okay, so you got the ones that are malicious, so the ones that do it deliberately.
Yeah.
Okay, let's break it down. So if you can imagine like the pyramid, everything's a pyramid, right? Right at the top, right at the crux of the top, you got the ones that are spreading the disinformation. They're the ones that created it. They know what they're doing it. They're doing it by design. Then underneath them, you got other groups that bounce off and they take what they're saying as testament. And there's many of these groups. This is how it works. So you got these ones right up the top. Then you got these other groups that are Facebook groups, all these, they're all over the place. Telegram, all over the place. Their own YouTube channels, their own Rumble channels. They're going off them. So they're thinking that what they're saying is all testament. Then what happens is you've got other groups under them and other groups, it goes on and on and on. And I mean worldwide.
Yes, worldwide. That's right.
Worldwide. So in other words, you've got the ones spreading the disinformation, which is malicious. Then you've got the other ones that are spreading, the misinformation. But when you know the truth, those groups have no excuse. I'm sorry, D, I'm going to say it straight.
No, yeah, they don't.
Those ones that go out there, that continue to do this, you are doing it deliberately because you are making money. You've created a huge, lovely sum of cash for yourselves. Even though now you know the truth, because we've been going out there and you've been turning the eyes the other direction because you don't want to know about it, because you know that this is true, what we're saying. But you want to continue on because you want to continue on with your grift. You know that it started off from here. Now this new exposure is coming out and you turning your head the other way. I'm sorry, but you are going to be held accountable for it.
You need to be held accountable.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to be Me neither. But what? Here's the thing: if you are further down the ladder here, okay, it goes back to integrity. I cannot go on YouTube or any other channel or post anything that I don't know is true. Now, that's just me personally, I guess. But, these people who say, oh, well, so-and-so at this other big channel, and he's a big guy, he's worth a lot of money, he must know. So we're going to keep reposting this. No, you need to know, you need to do your own homework. And so while I think that, they're not the instigators, but they surely do bear some responsibility.
Oh, they do, because they've been enriching themselves from their groups. Don't you worry about that one. And then
they're helping it spread.
They're helping it spread, but they're also getting their pockets full. Okay. And they're still fooling their audience. Now, they can't sit there and say, you know what's going to happen? I can tell you right now. I don't need a crystal ball for this, right? But I can tell you right now, there's going to be the blame game, right? And it's coming very soon to your, to a cinema near you, or to a theater near you.
Yeah.
Okay.
A social media channel near you.
Yeah, channel, whatever. Well, you're going to see them. They're going to start pointing the fingers to the top and blaming. It's like this. The back in the day with the COVID jab, right? You remember that, right? Where the employers were pushing their employees to do it, and they're saying, no, it's the government's fault. It's the government's fault. Okay, blaming the government. That's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to blame the ones up the top. They're not going to think about what they should have done morally. No. They're going to play the bloody blame game. And I'm telling you, as I said, I don't need a crystal ball, because the rats are going to be bailing ship very soon, especially with all this coming out and much more. This is just the beginning, ladies and gentlemen, with Cynthia. This is just the very beginning. We're doing other projects. Don't you worry about that one. Yeah. And like we said, we're keeping our cards close to our chest, because things are going to be exploding. Now, what's happening is these entities, these groups that I've seen them, they're riddled Facebook, like it's just like a virus.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, they're everywhere. So.
They're everywhere, and they should stop. They should cease and desist immediately and remove their groups. You know what I mean? As in, do the right thing and apologize and bring out the truth and bring out the real NESARA.
Yeah.
But you know what they're going to do now? Well, you know what? They've enriched themselves, and now they're thinking to themselves, how can I leave with my plunder intact? That's the thing, D. That's what they're thinking about right now. How can I leave with all this money that I've made from all the deceptions and lies? Because you know who's been doing it. There's a lot of them out there, like Captain Kyle. I'm going to say it. That goes out there.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of the ones that are up higher, and even some of the lower ones. And they're going to try to figure out an exit plan. He still goes
around driving his truck around and saying bullshit. I mean, I don't know why people still enable that character and others. This is where I'm saying it starts with us. So he's gone out there. Remember that whole claim about him, talking about the computers and. All that. We don't need to revisit that, because, we don't want to dredge up old garbage. But these are the entities that people really need to stop enabling.
They need to stop enabling them. Right.
Start calling them out on their bullshit. That's what they need to do. Sorry.
It is frustrating. No, you're absolutely right. And it's frustrating. Like I was saying earlier, I have a routine in the morning. Get up and you do your things and wash face and do your exercises and take your vitamins. And I spend a few minutes each morning on some social media platforms, going and reporting these false sites. Okay. Reporting them, just reporting them. Okay. And they always say, okay, we'll come back with a verdict or whatever. They never take them down. They never agree that it's scam or fraud or anything. It doesn't seem to violate our platform rules. And I was like, then your platform is okay with these people ripping people off. And it's not just one of them. It's all of them. But I keep peppering away. And I've been doing that for 2 years now. 2 years. And it's starting to make a little bit of difference. Every little bit helps. I know when we first started, we asked our viewers to help us as well. And they did. And it's just one of those things. It's just like emailing your congressman. You got to keep it up. You got to keep it up and keep it going.
I've got something to show you, Dee, and the audience here. This is, I don't know if this is what you would classify as a victim, okay, but they're believing whatever they've been told about NESARA, right?
Mm-hmm.
And plus the other fictitious claims of people that have become proclaimed royals. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like this queen from Canada, her name is Queen Romana. I can't believe that people believe that she's a queen, and that, you know, she has some sort of control over Trump or some crap like this. But anyway, let me show you. Oh, actually, that's you.
Okay.
Let me just bring me in. All right, here we go. So this is from, look at this. So Janet Nicholson, Mooney. Oh, lovely name. Let's give credit to the US who made, I don't know, It's true that Bill Clinton signed it at the UN. I mean, what? NESARA, and presidents have been assassinated for NESARA. Can you believe it? So you got this.
And presidents have been assassinated for this. However,
yeah, been assassinated.
Saint Germain, which you can find on Pinterest.
However, the plan
Wait,
belongs to.
You can
Saint
find
Germain.
that fact on Pinterest, or you can find Saint Germain on Pinterest. I'm sorry.
Yeah, however, the plan belongs to Saint Germain, which you can find on Pinterest. There is also a video on Rumble, Truth Hidden in Obscurity, about Saint Germain and Queen Romana. Here we go. That's another one from Canada. He's bringing in GERBRECHT. So she's bringing in GERBRECHT together with Saint Germain. Are they holding hands and doing it at the same time? By the way of royal decrees. And even though some say Trump signed it in Geneva on Thanksgiving, where's the facts, evidence, and receipts on that? And
there aren't any. You're not going to find any.
So Trump's what? An actor? Is that what they're saying? Who's the actor?
I guess that's
Trump's
what
the actor following Queen Romana. I'm sure. So to an extent, we give US credit. This is the crap that people believe in.
Yeah.
That Trump's an actor that's working with, that's following Romana, Queen Romana. Are you serious right now?
I have listened to some of the sites that do podcast or whatever. And I listened to them, and I have to say this, and
say it, please.
Okay. Well, you know, I always felt a little insecure or insignificant. I'd never done anything like this before. And you've always been so professional, and you've taught me a lot, you know. But I go, and so when I went on these other sites, I'm saying, this is like a bunch of people sitting around in somebody's living room on a Friday night. You know, I'm saying what they're talking about has no validity, nothing to back it up. They're just shooting the breeze there for a few, like 5, 6, 10 hours. I was like,
they've all got stoned off their face.
I couldn't watch this with,
and they're all coming up with this garbage. You know what I mean?
I don't know where it comes from, but it's like, this is.
Have you seen it? Look, what's going on?
Informative.
It's like, you see these podcasters and what do you call them? Influencers, but they go out there and they say something. Then it's like what do you call this? Is it the Chinese whisper or the grapevine where they add as they move along? You know, it's just like, let me do one up better from the one that said the crap first. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, it's like the fish story. Yeah, they just keep adding it. It get bigger and bigger and bigger. Yes. It's
eating magic mushrooms. Story. Yeah, you're right, Carol.
Well, anyway, we have real information here. And
and he's running his own little podcast. We should be stopping it.
The last couple of shows I had, this one we were going to talk about retail. And last time when Jean was on, I think I had a whole nother presentation.
Before you do that, I've got one.
Oh, no, I'm not going to do it tonight. We've been going at this a little while. We got a big storm coming in. But what I was going to say was, if people go to the Facebook page, they will see my trailer for tonight, which is about the retail business. It's very informative, and it'll give you something to think about. And I'm going to try to put the rest of these little slides together, maybe in a little thing, so that people can actually get some information. I want them to learn something. You know, we got 2 jobs here. I've got one to try to get these grifters and stuff handled, you know, and get people to know that NESARA is a real bill, and it is something that needs our attention. And then also let them know, again, from the book, and you know, making correlations to what's happening in our financial world today, so that they can learn. And that's important to me. That was important to Harvey, and it's important to me. I want people to know and learn.
Look, I think it's very important. So this person should learn, I don't know what user, could be even a bot for all we know. bring in NESARA GERBRECHT. You obviously didn't watch the start of the show, did you? You didn't.
No.
You didn't watch that. Let me just show you the fall of the cabal. Okay, they actually put it out there, admitted that Harvey at Barnard's work is the real NESARA. Please watch the beginning of the show and catch up, please.
Yeah.
I just thought I'd add that one in.
Very good. Yeah, they'll have to go and
yeah, I mean, look,
catch up with us.
we know. Look, obviously there are bots too that are playing this game.
There could be.
Yeah, there's a lot of these bots, and look, and, you know, what's happening is that these bots are here, done by design to dirty the waters. Now, obviously, this character keeps going on, and I know it's a bot. Okay, because number one, it's just saying things that are out of context to what we're discussing.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, goodbye to the bot. Now, no, we don't deal with bots. Don't. This is the thing. What people got to realize, okay, that most of the time when you're sitting there arguing with somebody on Truth Social, on X, on Facebook, you're arguing with a bot.
I know. Yeah.
That's what you're doing. So save yourself the time from arguing with bots and giving yourself a headache.
Reduce your blood pressure. Take a deep breath, step away, come back and say, is this argument really the hill I want to die on? Okay. Can I back off from this a minute?
You know, I just hit ignore and
you don't have to answer every call. So.
Now, let me speak about this, Dee. This is, you know, I've been speaking about and I've proven, I debunked the thing about the human meat to do with McDonald's, right? We know that, you know, please watch the show. I went through that with all the facts, evidence and receipts. That information is here on the Freedom Channel broadcast. Now, this one has been kicked up the can. This can has been kicked up the road so many times. It's got dents all over it. Right? This one right here. This has been debunked. This is fake. This photo, however, is of him. Now think about this. How easy is it to get a photo of him surfing or whatever? Because he was surfing and all that. And then putting that thing together. It's all been debunked, ladies and gentlemen. It is fake as you can get, right? Do you think for a moment, just say, you know, Mark Zuckerberg, look at this, Little St. James Island.
Little St. James.
That's where, you know, he decided to write, let's use our logic. Let's use our logic, right? People actually believe this. I don't know how they can put this garbage up there and believe this crap, right? Now, Mark Zuckerberg apparently went on Facebook and he
wrote this
from
about himself.
St. James Island, Acker Epstein Island, right? Yeah. Let's use our logic. Although he says this, although many humans find participating in an observing sexual congress to be pleasurable and fulfilling, I sometimes find it challenging to observe the subsequent removal of adrenochrome from the smaller participants as illustrated in the photograph below. Were you showing that you're removing adrenochrome? It looks like you're at a day at the surf, which you are, and I've seen the original photo. Okay. And doing a reverse image search, you can find it, Dee, right? Ingesting the adrenochrome, however, he is as an enjoyable human activity as any I have yet engaged in. Can you please tell me, where's the logic in this?
Well, there isn't. And it's obviously fake. I mean, no one would put that on about themselves.
You know, I've seen people plaster this all over the place, Dee, unfortunately.
And that's, you know, there's no repercussions. I say there's no pushback. There's nothing, you know, and that's one thing I'll have to say about President Trump. He has endured more of this than anyone can imagine. The things that are said, you know, about him and put out there as real that are not. And, you know, there's certain things that, you know, when you're dealing with cable news networks, that's one thing. But when you're dealing with social media, there's no pushback. There's nothing, you know, anything goes, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Let's look at it from a logical standpoint. Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook, Meta, whatever it is, self-incriminating himself on Little St. James Island, Epstein, right? Now, look at this. Incriminating himself to do with adrenochrome Then it says there about the photograph shown below that I sometimes find it challenging to observe the subsequent removal of adrenochrome from the smaller participants as illustrated in the photos below. How is that illustrated? In no way, shape, or form is that illustrated.
It's completely fake and made up.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't be saying that. I mean, people, they are gullible, unfortunately.
I can't help you with that. I'm sorry. I can't.
What have we got?
I wish I could.
Can I see underneath? Does it say for entertainment purposes only?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because are you being entertained by this? Yeah, it's a comedy show. It really is. It's a sick comedy show because people actually believe in this garbage over there.
And
you know what I mean?
If that was put out on a satire channel or, there's many things like that, then that's one thing. I can understand. Okay, we're poking fun that believe, whatever. People that believe that this actually goes on. And that's a whole different thing. Boy,
it does. And you've seen where I've got it from.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Yeah. Right. So, but if you're using this as a point of reference, in what context are you using it? That's all I'm saying, because no one in their right mind would put that kind of thing out about themselves.
Well, that would, number one, that is so easily discredited, it's not funny.
Right.
I just discredited it in 2.5 seconds, right? All you have to do is do a reverse image search, guys. That's all you have to do, right? And I can do this live. I can show you what it says. Right? What does it say? This image. Are you ready? Oops. Let me get here done. Okay. This image show. Let me just blow this up a little bit so people can see what's going on because we're all about the facts of some receipts here. This image shows a known public figure at a specific location, accompanied by text that contains unfounded and disturbing conspiracy theories. Right? So it's got all this business going on. Look, we know that Zuckerberg has been named in the files. Yeah. Right? That's factual. But we go with what is factual. We don't go by what is fiction. That is the problem. Right? That is the problem, ladies and gentlemen. This is where we are right now. We are constantly bombarded with all this disinformation, lies and deceptions. And then look at this, debunked. Look at this, look, the debunked conspiracy theory. Oh, look, you just saw it there, right? Yeah. I just said it. You look at this. Say X. Oh, yeah. X is like a brothel. Instagram the same. Pinterest. There we go. Right. But then you got the journal. It debunked the conspiracy theories around the so-called Hollywood drug adrenochrome. Okay. We know that adrenochrome does. Oops. Keep mucking around there. We know that adrenochrome does exist. So there's the article there. Right. That's fact. The problem is, as I said, is that when you mix fact and fiction, and that's where the problem lies. Now, the fiction is that picture right there comes from Zuckerberg having a surf day on the beach. But do you see what they've done? Is they alluded and used manipulation done by design to dirty the waters. That's discrediting President Trump. People got to get it. What they are doing is destroying the reputability. They're doing it deliberately to destroy President Trump's reputation.
Yeah. Well, and anyone they so choose, things that spread on. It's like who is the what I call the shark meat of the social media feeding frenzy this week. Okay, and all it takes is one image or cropped video taken out of context, a couple of questions and a statement, boom, it goes out, and then it starts, and then people shed it, and then they add their little bit, and they add their little bit, and then all of a sudden it starts to make the rounds. Then you start getting what they call association stacking, where, oh, well, it was this, then this was connected, and oh, that must be this because of that, and blah, blah, blah. And before you know it, bam, you've got a full-blown scandal that never was. That never was. And people are hurt by that,
Look at this. Chairman of Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg and wife Priscilla Chan celebrate their first Christmas as married couple, surf lessons. Hawaii.
In Hawaii.
There we go. There's the picture.
That's the picture. Yeah.
So this is what I'm saying, guys. We want things to be factual. We want things to be proven, but we want it to be done properly. Not this constant, shall we say, dirtying the waters. That's the issue. And then these entities that do it deliberately, it's to obtain followers. Now you think about it, sensationalism, fear porn, hearsay is exactly what attracts people like a moth to a flame. Because that's exactly, when you think about reality TV shows, that's full of sensationalism. Yeah. That's all scripted. People are always attracted to, okay, give me an example. In a reality TV show, they want to see people arguing, punching on, disputes. It makes it more interesting, doesn't it? But they don't realize that's all scripted.
Yeah, it is. It's all made up. Yeah, I think some of them realize it, and they know. And that's what they're tuning in to be entertained. They're stepping out of their world, and they want, what's going on in the outside world, and they know they're going to be entertained.
The thing is, they think this is the truth. That's the reality. They think that it's the truth.
The strange thing is, like I said in the article I wrote, the truth is a lot more interesting and full of more turns and facets than the fiction. I mean, look at where we're sitting. Look at the story. Who would have thought? And like I titled that article, a conspiracy theory in reverse. That's exactly what this is, and the story of that is so much more intriguing than this kind of stuff.
Let me show you something, because since we're on conspiracy theories in reverse, all right, let's have a look at this. Does everyone think this? Oh, let me show you. Do you think that's real, D?
I don't know. I haven't done any of the Epstein stuff. Not interested.
Think that's real?
The aging of the film. Let me blow this up here so I can see it.
It looks real, doesn't it?
It looks like it could be, from the.
What if I was to tell you that
the photograph?
What if I was to tell you that it isn't? And neither is this one here. Okay, this is the crap that's going on out there, ladies and gentlemen. Now, look at this. This has been debunked. See? Been debunked. AI crap. Original, what does it say there? As satire. People have taken this on X and all over the place in Instagram, and they've turned it into a brothel. And people say, see, Hakeem Jeffries, okay, he's with him. He may have been mentioned in the files, but this is what I'm saying. Do you see how it fact, fiction, mixing, discreditation? The same thing with Schumer.
Yeah, that's not the same. You can tell.
AI generated.
Yeah, you can tell that one's pretty, easily. Absolutely. They're not in the same room. I can tell you that.
Well, the problem is this, and it goes back to, look, this is all relevant to what's going on because it's adding validity to what we're dealing with, right? Dirtying the waters.
Right. Mixing the facts and the fiction. Yeah.
Muddy waters. So everyone thinks that like you've been painted with the same brush.
Yeah.
Like we say about the Zionists, and how the saying Zionism is an ideology. It's not Jewish. It's nothing to do with the Jews, right? The Jews are actually against Zionism, right?
Right.
There's so many complexities to that, right? But they're painting with the same brush, right? That's another example. But my point is this: that's what we're dealing with.
Right. And it's the generalities. And that's, like I said, you're back to the association stacking. If they did this, then, that means such and such is true. If A is true and B is true, you go through that, and it's not necessarily the fact. We've talked about that with President Trump, how he may have had pictures with these people. That doesn't mean that he was part of their group. You take pictures with thousands of people, but this association stuff just gets out of hand, and it muddies the waters, like you said. And especially now when you've got this era of AI, and that was warned. That was told to us a long time ago. Remember, a long time ago, they said this is coming. it's going to be
Well,
here.
President Trump gave us a lot of warnings
Yeah.
when he used to go and do his presses back in the day where he was campaigning. He used to say it about the dangers of AI.
Yeah.
How what you could see seems real, but it isn't. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what we need to do is use our discernment.
That's right.
That's what's very important. Intuition, discernment, question everything.
Yeah.
Fact check everything. Very fundamental. Now, obviously there are a lot of people that are upset with us because of the bringing the truth out, right? You're going to get these people because they're coming to a realization. It's called cognitive dissonance again, right?
Yeah.
So-
yeah. We're back to that. We had a whole show on that.
Well, you think about it. I mean, these people, they went through cognitive dissonance thinking what the grifters were saying was real, right? So they went through that cognitive dissonance. Now they've gone through the meat grinder. They've gone and invested heavily, say, in dinar, dong, RV business, all these other grifts that they've been putting out there. And now they're realizing that they've been screwed. Now, what they do is people take out their frustration on us. And I'm saying it, I'm putting it out there. We are no one's punching bag. Anyone that says anything derogatory towards our team here or myself, you're out of here. Finished. Sorry. We're no one's punching bag. We don't get paid money. We don't get paid for this. You know, that's what I'm saying. These others are getting paid money through the wazoo when it comes to monetization. Now, you think about this. Monetization is a way of saying, great stuff, keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. That's how they keep encouraging it. So these platforms keep encouraging
letting
these
them
deceptions
continue
and
to
lies
lie.
to continue.
That's right. Yeah. Let them
That's
continue
the
to
issue
lie.
that we're dealing with. Whereas with us, what they're trying to do is not pay us. Then they stop us from reaching the larger audience. They manipulate numbers, and then it's trying to demoralize us to the point where we say, you know what, this isn't worth it. But they have failed. They failed because we're doing this grassroots style.
That's
and
right.
they're going to fail miserably.
That's right.
Because-
we don't make any money from the money that comes from the books makes the machine that makes the books keep going. That's it. I don't get anything from it, and I know that you don't get. You spend more money on your productions than you get. Yeah,
into reinvesting into this platform.
That's
and
right.
into equipment
That's right.
and keeping because everything's expenses to run this. There's a lot of expenses that go behind the scenes, right? So what I'm saying is this: we together, we are the voice. We need to yell it from the rooftops. This is the real NESARA. This is what's really true. Now we've got Cynthia from the fall of the cabal, which these grifters were using Janet's work.
That's right.
To bounce around the place and now we've got Cynthia's support, and you're seeing it now. There's a huge flip, a huge change.
Yeah.
And like I said, anyone that hasn't watched the beginning of this show, watch it from start to finish, because we're not going to go here and explain ourselves over and over again. Go and watch the start and you will see the truth. The truth is all there. It's from Cynthia Koeter, the fall of the cabal. She's put it out there. This is the real NESARA, the one that Harvey Barnard produced, created. Okay. Then also Dee retorted. She gave Dee the opportunity to speak on her through her Substack. The facts, evidence, and receipts are all there.
And
you
so
want to continue believing in the myths and the fairy tales of NESARA, GERBRECHT, and the QFS and the RV and the med beds. That's on you, because when the time does come, and it is coming, the walls are going to be crumbling all around you. The walls of truth are just going to be collapsing on top of you. And then you'll be thinking to yourself, we should have listened to D and FCB from the very beginning.
Yeah. Yes. That may very well happen. But, until then, we're going to keep doing what we're doing, and we're going to hope and rely on the goodness of our viewers and their ability to, their love of the truth as well, to help us reach more people, and get this out there. Because I know, every time I have someone
Yeah.
discover about this that's kind of new. They're like, wow, I had no idea. I had just no
Yeah.
idea that this is going on.
Yeah, I'm just letting you know we've been inundated by bots, guys. So I've been getting rid of them in the background there because
We must be doing something right.
Oh, because you know what they're doing is, okay, so they're listening to our words, we're talking about the truth, and then they start talking about it, right? But then it's when they start, it's a bot, when they start acting and saying things that are weird and out of context.
That are weird, yeah.
Yeah,
They're just picking
so
up
they
on
can't get AI right at the moment. It's still, not working the way it should be working.
That's it.
And, we're always on the ball here. We know what's going on.
Yep.
So it was a great show, wasn't it, Dee?
It's been wonderful. I had talking about bots, when I'm working with the software, and I think this was when I was setting up a software program a few months back, and you get the little help bots, and I am talking to this bot and I'm trying to work out. And I spent 45 minutes, an hour arguing. And I said, I'm arguing with a bot, and this bot doesn't even know its own software. I know it better, and I'm a first time user. And I finally typed, I said, you are the dumbest bot ever. There's something wrong with you. But, you get into that kind of frustration and you think, wait a minute, I'm literally arguing with a computer here.
Well, that's it. I mean, look, every time you're arguing, just see these little cards on the board, zappity zap, lights going around the place. You'll know that you're arguing with that business. And now, Carol says, do you want to take any questions? How about we take some questions?
I'll take some questions. And then Carol, I think we were going to see about her putting on our comment section and maybe the episode, the third episode of the Kraken when we came out, when I first hit the scene. And then maybe the link to the Real NESARA show, Myths and Facts, so that new people can go and hit those links in the comments and, get to those episodes quickly and not have to hunt for them themselves. And like FC said, we're going to try to do a little index thing. We can put out where people can get to what we consider the most important episodes.
So, yes, put a Q in front of your questions, guys, so we can track it right down. Okay, so when we see that Q, it's like, bang, we know that's a question. Let's target that one, right? We bring it up. So, put a Q in front as Carol's put up on the screen. Okay, and we were happy to answer your questions.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, Dee. I mean, we're happy to answer anyone's questions, but they don't take us out on the offer, do they, unfortunately?
Well, some people do. But you're talking about the grifters. No, that we invite them. Oh, yeah. No, but they're not coming. And so we established that a long time ago.
What are they going to do? We know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
They know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
But you know what? Why do we do this is to bring out the truth. It's about the truth.
Right.
Because you know what? The truth has taken a backseat in a lot of things. And it's about, how can I say, there are a lot of people out there that are relying, this is what I'm saying, Dee, they're relying on the med beds. They're relying on the RV. They're relying on the NESARA. They're relying on the pot of gold to be true. They're relying on all these things. And they keep being, I've seen them. Oh, next week. March apparently is the new date for the release.
I heard
of
that.
NESARA.
Yeah, I did hear that. So,
then when March comes and it hasn't happened, what excuse are they going to come up with next? Now, have a look at the excuses that they've been doing now for what, two decades?
All right. So? Yeah. Well, it's 26 years. So 25, 26 years, something like that. So,
there'll be people on their grave, on their stones saying, I'm still waiting for NESARA. You know what I mean?
Died waiting for NESARA.
That's the thing.
It's funny, but it's sad.
It is. I could see.
You would think after this long you would smell a rat.
Right?
You would cut your losses, or you smell a rat or something. And there are people who are believing today that weren't even around when Harvey wrote this. You know what I'm saying? So they've been indoctrinated into this is the only thing that they've ever heard, they've ever seen. And until now, they didn't have anything else. Yes, you could have gone and researched it. Even before I jumped back into it, I went in on the internet and I could find stuff. It was inaccurate, but there was some there that you could probably go down that rabbit hole. As I began to work with it, I was able to, uncover, get them to recognize the truth. But I had to, like you do, I had to bring my facts, evidence, and receipts. I had to show them the documentation. I had to prove, this is prove my case, who I was. Never had to do that before, but I did.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, people are probably thinking to themselves, what I'm going to do with all this dinar business? I've got so much to cover a whole house full of, dinar. Maybe you can use that as wallpaper for who knows. Don't take any financial advice. I don't give any.
I know.
If you want to decorate your home with it and use it as wallpaper, you probably can do that. At this point, that's how much it's worth. Who knows? Wallpaper is probably worth more money than the dinar at this point.
I think so.
And I've exposed this RV business, and it's been back in the day of Iraqi war. That's where it came from. Remember how I did that whole thing, and I showed the videos and did the whole decode on the Kraken, exposed it all. The thing is, I know there's a lot of people, and look, I'm one of them. I got suckered in. I'm going to put my hand up. At the very beginning, I got suckered in too. Okay, but the thing is, I chose to go in the direction, because when I saw what was happening, I went to the direction of what is truthful, what is fact, what can be proven.
There you go. And that's what you have to do. Yeah, you have to be able to take yourself in hand and say, I've made a mistake, or no one's perfect, and we've all made mistakes. We've all been taken advantage of one way or the other, and have our downfalls and our weak moments. That's part of being human. It's okay. The thing about it is once you know that and you continue to do it, then that becomes, self-destructive.
Yeah.
It's you make a mistake. Okay. I made a mistake. You got to own it and you got to try to correct it. So.
Like Rosedale says, a lot of crap to sift through. Well, that's what's part of being a digital warrior. Okay.
Yeah.
Part of what we're supposed to do is sift through the crap, go through the shit, so to speak, proverbial mud. You know what I mean? To get to the nuggets of truth. You got to do what you got to do. People want, this is the problem, D. People want you to explain everything in a 6-second video on TikTok. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because that's how what they've done is condition people to have a retention span. Those done by design, right? These videos, because you think about it, back in the old days, remember you used to go to the library, books like your dad's, right?
Yeah.
Books are there. Now today we're living in the world of digital technology. Narratives can be changed like this at a whim in seconds. What was true before is no longer true 10 seconds after that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
This is what I'm saying. The introduction of PDFs. PDFs can be manipulated as well. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
It's easily done. We're living in the world of artificial intelligence. So remember, we used to go to the library. A book is a book. You pick it up, it's solid, right? How do they get rid of it back in the days of Nazi Germany? The burning, right? What are they doing today? They're burning it a different way.
You see, they delete it.
The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Google. They bury that thing right down, the truth right to you can't find it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they control the narrative. That's what the technology we're living in. And also
it controls the information. Yeah.
Well, information is power. Knowledge is power. Information. Those who control information have the power. Unfortunately, this is where we are right now. But we need to get down to grassroots.
That's right.
That's the only way.
That's the only way. Yes, through sharing this with your friends, your coworkers. Get a copy of the book, read it, talk to people about it. You'll be the one that knows. You know what I'm saying is that when you start reading this, you are going to be excited to talk to people about it because it's simple to understand And there's so much good history and practical information and knowledge. When you read it, you're going to look around and go, oh, wow, now I understand how that works. Or now I see the relationship between this and why this is important. Oh, and I understand what she was talking about when she said, like we were talking about the global structure. So, it's just, support us that way. And that way you'll know how to educate people. Hopefully we can get people interested in the bill and get it, some time up there in Washington. We'll be in April, be at the Louisiana legislature here.
Are you going to video that?
I'll say if Jed's off work, it's my husband. He'll come and video. Last year they had a news group there and that did a video for us. But we'll try to do that. And even though this is a national bill, it starts somewhere, right? You got to start somewhere. So we talk to our local officials about it and
now
spread awareness.
Quick question. Okay, now I'm going to give you my take. I've still got to do investigation into this. FCB, what is your take? And then you can answer, D. What is your take on the missing Nancy Guthrie case from Arizona? Sorry, it's not a question about the show, but it's on my mind. What I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of distractions going on. Remember, Epstein, okay, has come to the forefront. Then you got this, which is big as well. I mean, obviously locally big, if you want to call it that, locally big. But you think about it. There is mind warfare. There's a war on your mind, and we're in information warfare. What I consider that to be at this point is a distraction or one of many, because then there's the other one, the MAGA dad that shot his daughter. You heard about that one?
I did. I heard about that today.
Yeah.
This has been a really sad story, and I hadn't thought enough about it objectively. Like I said, I hadn't sat down. Okay, let's look at this from, like I do. Let's look at it from 10,000 feet. Let's look at it critically and be objective.
Yes.
Like you just stated, that's terrible. I guess, my mom lives next door. You know what I'm saying? So we have an elderly person around you. That's where your mind goes to.
What it does is it hits people in the heartstrings. And that's exactly what it's designed to do. Yeah. People got to realize that the Q has also warned us there's false flags. Things happen for a reason, and it's to basically distract and also to stir the emotions. Now, let me give you an example. In your neck of the woods, New Orleans, you saw what happened with that. The what do you call it? The car that went through, smashed up all those people in New Orleans. Was it Bourbon Street? Remember? Back in
when was that?
Was last year or something? Wasn't it last year?
Oh, there's been several. Yeah, I mean through the years there have been several.
ISIS flag at the back to add injury to insult, and then also that character and the one that also at the same time you had that business where he knocked over all those people in New Orleans, and he also happened to be out of Fort Bragg, just like the one that burned the Cybertruck or blew it up in front of Trump's hotel. Do you remember that business?
I do remember that.
Okay,
now that
at
you
the
bring
same time. And they also happened to come out of Fort Bragg again. Now we know who's at Fort Bragg. Psychological Operations Group. And I've been through that and I exposed what really happened. And this is what I'm saying. There are things that are done deliberately by design, and we are in some psychological warfare right now. And I can tell you this, that it's happening. When you watch the Pulse tomorrow, you'll see what I'm talking about.
I'll watch tomorrow. Yeah, it'd be interesting. I'm like I said, I hope everything is okay, and I hope that that she is safe, that the family is safe. But it's interesting to see how that's going to turn out.
It's just that there's so much of this Epstein business. Like my focus has been on that.
Yeah, it's been on that. And
what's going on in the Middle East, because that's huge, because Trump's sending his second armada. That's big.
Right. They've just been kind of hanging out over there for a while, waiting for the bigger ship to get there. That's going to be interesting to see.
Well, there's a lot of interesting things going on, and that's what I'm saying. So that's my take at this point. Dee's given you her take, so hopefully that's answered your question to all both. Thank you. Then we got, what's your take on BRICS?
I haven't really looked into it. It's been a long night. I probably should do a deep dive on it. So, I know it's, they organized, several countries, all of the countries came together, and, who are, representing so much of the global, GDP there for all of those countries. And, there's a lot that goes into it. So I haven't really, formed an opinion as it relates to NESARA.
Yeah.
But that's a good view. We'll have to do that. I'll put it on my mini list of things that we need to go through because, if we don't do it on here, I'll put it out on my Facebook page.
So Deb Trago says FCB Nancy Guthrie was investigating Medicaid fraud going on at nursing homes facilities. This is reintroducing a narrative. This is bringing in a narrative. So this is how it works. And remember, look, this is psychological warfare we're in. Everything and anything is possible. You should know this. And this is a way of bringing in a narrative of corruption. And they use certain assets or ways of reintroducing or bringing in something. It's not as clean cut as people make it out to be. You've got to really look at it from a different standpoint. You know what I'm saying, Dee?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was half listed. I was getting the lady or the person. I'm sorry. I always say lady, that asked the question about bricks so that I can look.
Okay, no worries.
Put something together for and then address that. Because,
so Deb Trago, look, as I said, we can't look at things as what the masses see it. We've got to look at it from a different standpoint, as in we are in a psychological warfare, all right? And you could see all these things that are coming out, all about the Epstein files, Middle East, no peace around the world, Russia and Ukraine still fighting, China, tensions, again, with US, all these things. The world is ready to blow up, right? That's where we are right now. There's so much information, people are being fatigued, right? We're on information overload. What we need to do is to maintain our composure, look at it from a different standpoint, do not get emotionally attached, and see it for what it is. That Nancy Guthrie was investigating Medicaid fraud in nursing homes. So that's introducing a narrative. That's bringing something in. And like I said, assets can be used to bring in narratives. And that's what I'm saying. We can't say, did she, because she's apparently, they haven't found her yet, have they?
Not as of the time we went on the air. No.
Okay. So what I'm saying is, don't you find that strange? We just take each day as it comes.
Yeah. So that's a new piece in the puzzle. So we'll have to add that to it and see what comes of it and follow that trail down. Where was that? Where does that claim come from? Who said that? Where did, how much validity is there to it? So.
I mean, look, we just saw recently in Canada, another trans something shoot off, right?
Yeah.
So look, there's so many things going on, guys. It's just, we've been bombarded left, right, and center. And this is what I'm saying. Like, people saying, oh, FCB, look at this. FCB. No, I'm not a jukebox. I don't do requests. Okay. Number one. Number two, I'm an international reporter. Just because I live here in Australia doesn't mean I focus on Australian affairs. I'm an international reporter, an international investigative journalist. Okay. I focus on the world stage. And also remember, President Trump is the leader of the free world. Very important to focus there. Everything trickles down, guys. I can't focus on local affairs all over the world. It's got to be what is relevant, what is important, what is going to get us through what we're going through.
Right. That's right.
You get what I mean, Dee?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you have to, like I said, everything comes down from the top. So you have to look at that playing field first. Does this have everything in it?
Carlson go and do all this research on my behalf. I do it all myself.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
We do.
We do it together.
Well, yeah, the Nancy Guthrie thing, does that play into it somehow? Does it not? I've told you a lot of many times that with so much going on and everything, it's not necessarily interconnected. Okay. Not every crow you see is bearing a message. Sometimes you just see a crow. Okay. And so sometimes life happens. People are not, everything is not choreographed and of some bigger plan. Is there a bigger plan? Yes. But life happens. People bump into each other. Things transpire, and so you can't take everything as part of a bigger plan. Sometimes things just happen. And whether this one is one of those things or not, we'll have to look into it and see at some point.
I just find it too coincidental when I see what's going on with Nancy Guthrie, especially when she's investigating a Medicaid fraud. Yeah. Okay, because then you've got other frauds that are taking place all over and then you've got all these other exposures of Epstein. So to me, it just seems to be converging into something like, the perfect storm, if you will.
Well, and see, sometimes it is the perfect storm, right? Yeah. But there again, be objective enough to say that may or may not have anything to do with it, right?
Well, anything's possible.
Anything is possible, but some things just happen, And just Nancy Guthrie was investigating Medicaid fraud. She's 84 years old. When was she investigating fraud? Savannah, her daughter may have been, so I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. That's why further investigation needs to take place to be able to work out, was she doing it? Yeah. Okay. So I'm just taking what Dip Trago's saying and going on by that information. Right. What I need to do is to go and do the research to find out what was Nancy doing, why, but it's allocating resources and time and all that sort of business. And what I'm in the middle of doing is this Epstein, Middle East, what's going on, because those two together work hand in hand. Like I've said, those two things. Now, that's what is very important, because the world leaders in technology and all that are being exposed. It's involving the whole world. Right. This is very relevant. This is very important. Okay. And this is where I've chosen to allocate my energy and time at this point.
Yeah. And that's good. And I agree with you. You cannot do everything, right? You can't do everything and do it thoroughly. So, you have to what's most important and what's going to affect the most people. So,
you're talking about 3 million documents.
That's a lot. Yeah.
That's ridiculous amount. Then there's supposed to be 6 million. There's more coming. So, and much, much more. But what I'm saying is, you think about this. You need to go through things and sift through it. Now, you're doing with redactions too, by the way. So then you're trying to add context to what's going on. So that's a very difficult task as well to do. It's like all the missing pieces of the jigsaw puzzle are in redactions, right? And you're trying to get context to what is being said. And then you're trying to find previous articles on that particular person or entity, and then try to tie things up as an investigative journalist. Now, that's a very difficult thing to do.
It is very hard. And I think that's the goal, to make it too formidable a task for anyone to complete.
Yeah.
It
is.
That's what I'm saying. That's by design. Make it too much, so people, they'll just give up and say, I'm not going to do this anymore. So who knows? Yeah. Well, I do. I think this was a great show. I think we had a lot of good information tonight. Certainly had great viewership, and I appreciate every one of them. Y'all guys, like FC says, y'all got to get out there and share this on the grassroots. Go visit my website. Please visit the Facebook page. Share all those videos. I've got a lot of good videos out there. They're about our economy right now, and that's gonna help people understand that the NESARA bill, the National Economic Stabilization and Recovery Act, is not about a bunch of pie in the sky and aliens and the second coming of Christ. All very fine and well, but that's for entertainment. This is real things, real solutions, real problems that can be solved with some, down to earth, practical solutions using, the nature of money and basics that don't change, that will never change.
Yeah. And this is the thing, guys. It's not about left and right. It's about what President Trump says. He wants to be remembered as the unifier. We know that left and right work for the same beast. That's all been proven over and over again. So this is what we're doing, is transcending all that, breaking down the barriers where these others are going out there, and you've seen them, Dee. These are the others, influencers and all that, and they go around and they make it about the left or the right. That's how they keep us divided and weak.
It's one of the ways, yeah. And there's a lot of things coming together. Like I said, we talked about this, the Epstein Island business, where it is across political divides. The NESARA is across political divides, right? Because everybody has these same problems. Everybody has an objection to what went on there, and everybody wants a better money system. So as these subject matters come to the surface that do, cross the blue-red line, that's going to unify people behind a common cause when they begin to realize, that we are all in this together.
That's right. Where we go one, we go all.
That's right. That's right.
All right, Dee, it was a pleasure.
It was good, and I'm going to be back in a couple of weeks as usual. Oh, by the way, wherever you are in the world, happy Valentine's Day.
Oh,
it's happy as Valentine's Day here in the States. So, we'll be back in a couple of weeks, and I'll have some good educational stuff for you guys.
I want to say thank you to Carol and Soren, our lovely team. They're awesome.
Yes, appreciate it.
The support is amazing. They go way above and beyond. And thank you to all of you that have donated, contributed, because that goes to continuing on, improving the platform, because we're looking at ways of improving. So in other words, to index, to do this, to do that, to improve things, it costs money, right? Let's be honest. At this side, we're not living in NESARA world where we've got pots of gold everywhere. I can go there and get it and do that sort of thing. Certainly, I'm not getting it from Rumble or YouTube, right, or anywhere else. So I'm relying on donations, and I want to say thank you to those that have donated, because your funds are going into reinvesting into this platform, into improving this platform, into getting the message out there. So if you would like to, number one, also please support Dee and the NESARA Institute. Okay, so Dee, just a quick spiel on that one.
Yeah, get your book right here. Okay, you can get it on Amazon. You go to that website right there, NESARAinstitute.com. And that we got all kinds of great information about Harvey, about the book, about the history. There is an interview on there that he did years ago on a radio station. Absolutely fascinating to listen to. Lots of information in the blog, connection to our Facebook, and also different buttons where you can get the book on Amazon in paperback or Kindle, and also on Barnes & Noble in their online format. So the support us. This is the only thing that I don't make any money for what I do. The money that comes from the sale of the books just goes back to that machine to make it possible to send more books out. And that's what it's about for us, is spreading the word. That's what Harvey wanted, for people to at least have a chance to make up their own mind.
That's it. Now, like I said, guys, join our platform. Okay, it doesn't cost you a cent, right? So all you need to go is go to this QR code. It will take you to Linktree. I'm going to add your links on here too, darling. So I'll get that sorted. All right. Oh. So on our new platform here, our new thing. So there it is, FCB podcast. We're going to put Dee in here and her details. All right. And what you do here, you can shout us a coffee here. I'll be creating new merch as well for, the new logo and all that sort of business. FCB podcast, Rumble, YouTube. We're on YouTube. We've got our truth bombs, which I'm going to look at them obviously when I get spare time, because this Epstein business is just ridiculous. I'm not calling it ridiculous, but
no, we know what you mean. It's time consuming, and it's just like,
yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. And I honestly have dedicated a lot of my time and effort to this because it deserves it. There's a lot at play, a lot at stake here. FCB podcast Telegram. Q Lounge Telegram, where you can meet like-minded patriots like us, you know what I mean? People, where you could sit there and you know what they do? They get together, they share information, but they check it all. That's the beauty of it. They fact check each other. It's great. And then also they sit there and they boost each other's morale. It's
That's
fantastic place
what
to
I
be.
like. Yeah.
Join the Q Lounge today. Also, if you want to get the latest take, as I said, the latest, because I'm always putting up posts on what's going on, you know, in the world, and I'd give you my take on things. You will go to the FCB podcast Telegram. I'm on Truth Social, and I'm also on X. Join these platforms, and then also I'm going to put D stuff up there as well, where you'll be able to get.
Yeah, we'll get some links for you so that they can get to my website and stuff. But yeah, I tell you what, on the Telegram, you know, I'll look at that first. I'll say, okay, what's going on that I need to know that's important today?
D's actually thinking of, and this is just we're talking about it, but because D's obviously, you know, wants to bring out information about NESARA, and we need to get this out there. We need to. I can't stress it enough. You know how passionate I am about it, right?
Yeah.
But D's looking at producing. I'll help her produce her own Telegram group. Where D, do you want to talk about it? Just real quick?
I thought about doing that where I could actually, because right now I have Facebook. I've been kicked off of TikTok, and I just won't fool with X. That we don't, you know, get along.
Yeah.
So, but I thought if I did a Telegram, then I would be able to share, like I said, all the videos that I create, the educational videos that y'all would really love, the different things that I write, the old things that we share, you know, from Harvey. And I want more people to see that. Not everybody either wants to get Facebook or has access or can get Facebook, but, you know, Telegram would be a new endeavor. So I really am looking forward to launching that. And since FC and his team have so much experience at that, I'm really looking forward to their assistance. So let you know when we got that rolling.
Because you know what we're about, darling? It's about the message. It's about getting the truth out there. And we're going to do every which way, everything possible to make it happen. Grassroots. It has to happen grassroots. Let's so be it. You know what I mean? We're going to do it.
Yeah. And that's going to be fun. I'm really going to enjoy that. I always like new projects, and I love to be creative with the videos. So.
And I expect everyone here to join her channel, please.
Oh.
Okay? I expect everyone to join her Telegram channel once that is launched. We all got to do our bit. Now, Dee's going to be focusing on the NESARA. You know what I'm doing is look, you know me, forget it. I'm focusing on the world stage. So there's a lot of things so you're going to get the best of both worlds everywhere.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what we need you to do is support our platforms, as in join our platforms, and then also recommend your friends. Say, hey, you want to know the real truth? This is the real truth. You want to know, and this is all based on facts, evidence, and receipts. This is not you got to tell them, you got to assure them that when they're joining our channel, they're going to get the real take. They may not like what they have to hear because it's the truth. And that's the thing. I've seen a lot of these meltdowns, by the way. Yeah. And unfortunately, it's becoming more and more commonplace where we bring out the truth and it doesn't vibe with their, you know, the gold rainbow business, all that sort of stuff. It doesn't vibe with them. They get upset when we show them the facts, evidence, and receipts because it's the cognitive dissonance all over again.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes, it is. And so people, you have to give them time to come on board if they're going to, and if they're not, then that's fine. I understand. But it's not going to change. I'm not one of these people, and neither are you, that we're going to change what we say or change our material just to put you in this car today, as I like to say. We're going to sell this to you. No, this is what it is, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure it's factual. I don't like to comment on things unless I've researched it and formed an opinion that I can stand behind. Okay,
I couldn't do it in my good conscience.
I couldn't. I would lose sleep. So you know, you've got to give us time to do those kind of things, but that's what you're going to get. And you agree or disagree. It doesn't matter. You're not going to hurt my feelings if you don't agree with me. That's just okay. Well, but I'm not going to change.
There is some uncomfortable truths that you know, obviously you got the facts, evidence, and receipts, you prove it. And people just get pissed off. I've seen them, they get really angry with me. And it's like, you know what? You're going to do that. Out you go. I'm not going to even bother to engage. Neither is my team. We're not going to engage with you. The same way that everyone deserves respect, so do we. At the end of the day, we're all in this together. It doesn't mean you can go around and use this as a proverbial punching bag. You know what I mean? I'm just going to say that again and again, Dee, until people get it, because we're not going to take it. No.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, I will work with anybody. I will, you know, state the side. I will let them do theirs. But if you're going to keep on and keep on, then, you know, I'm going to have to, like you said, cut them out. Some people, like I said, will die on that hill, even though you have proven and laid everything out for them. And I can't help that. But there's so many out there that we can't help. And so I like to end things positively. I like to look up and think that there's hope, and that people will at least have the opportunity to learn about it and make up their own minds.
Shout out to Burns SGB. She's a lovely girl. Lovely lady.
Great.
How are you, darling?
Glad to have you. Oh, good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the new thing too. So, thanks for being here. Thanks for being here.
Cheers, everyone. God bless.
Okay. Talk to y'all soon.
I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh, Lord. And I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh, Lord. Can you feel it coming in the air tonight? Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Well, if you told me you were drowning, I would not lend a hand. I've seen your face before, my friend, but I don't know if you know who I am. Well, I was there and I saw what you did. I saw it with my own two eyes. So you couldn't wipe off that grin. I know where you've been. It's all been a pack of lies. And I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh, Lord. Well, I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh, Lord. I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh, Lord. Well, I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. I remember, don't worry. How could I ever forget? It's the first time